Safir, Atlanta, Georgia. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Alaikum salam.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Come again, Wali.
Assalamu alaikum. Waliuddin, Medusa B, Atlanta, Georgia.
Assalamu alaikum. Ezekiel Abdullah, Atlanta, Georgia.
Alaikum salam, Ezekiel.
Assalamu alaikum. Muhammad Alim Ali, El Sobrante, California, San Francisco.
Alaikum salam, Muhammad. How are you, my brother?
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing good. Thank you.
Good, alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum. Kareem Abdul Salam, Memphis, Tennessee.
Wa alaikum salam. Kareem, how are you?
Alhamdulillah. How are you, my brother?
Good, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Great, great.
Okay, keep the introductions coming, please.
Assalamu alaikum, Salim Muhammad, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Wa alaikum salam, Salim.
That's what I've been wanting to hear.
Or someone else was coming right behind him, I believe. All right, keep the intros coming. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
Amin Sharif, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Amin Sharif, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you, my brother?
Good, alhamdulillah. How are you?
Good, alhamdulillah.
Good to see you, my brother. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Sister Habiba calling from, this is Senior Instructor Habiba Abdul Shaheed calling from Camden, New Jersey.
Wa alaikum salam, Senior Instructor. How are you today?
Ah, très bien, merci. Et toi?
Très bien, très bien. Alhamdulillah.
Did you hear me? I'm Shafika Abdullah from Atlanta, Georgia.
Shafika, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
I'm doing good, alhamdulillah. How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks to the good Lord.
Good.
Arlene Elamine, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Wa alaikum salam. And how are you today, my sister?
Alhamdulillah.
Good. Good to see you.
Yes,
Right, keep the intros coming, please.
Jesse, North Carolina.
Assalamu alaikum, Jesse. And how are you today, sir?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah.
Good. Always good to see you, brother.
Thank you.
Keep the intros coming, please. Your name and where you're calling from.
Assalamu alaikum, Sophia from Bermuda.
Wa alaikum salam, Sophia from Bermuda. And how are you today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Alhamdulillah, I'm doing good. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Abdullah from Brooklyn. Peace.
Abdullah from Brooklyn. Peace. How are you, my brother?
Okay, good to see you all.
Yes, alhamdulillah. Always, yes. Keep it coming, please. Keep the intros coming.
Assalamu alaikum. Hassan Abdullah, New Orleans, Louisiana.
Wa alaikum salam. Hassan Abdullah from New Orleans. How you doing, my brother?
I'm fine, soldier. Thank you.
Good, alhamdulillah. We may be cousins, brother. I'm from that part of the world. Well, LeCount, Alexandria, up that way. Keep it coming, please. Identify yourself.
Khalil Sultan, Atlanta, Georgia.
Khalil Sultan from the ATL. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
You here or you out in Cali?
I'm in Cali.
Okay. Alhamdulillah.
How you doing?
I got to keep up with you, brother.
All right. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Has the rain stopped out there?
Just for a few minutes.
Okay. Alhamdulillah.
Still getting it. Yes.
All right. Let's keep the intros coming, please. The name and where you're calling from.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me loudly and clearly?
Alaikum salam, instructor. Here you
Alaikum
go.
salam. Yes, sir. We hear you.
All right, great. So we'll be expecting some others to join us. Some are not used to this 1 hour early difference.
Yes, I had to make
And
some
sometimes
adjustments.
yeah. Either they had planned on something else or they don't really read the email
Yes.
as closely as they should. But
Yeah.
we're going to work with what we have, and I'm sure others will be joining us very soon. I wanted to, because we have two guests tonight, both of whom are, I'll say loosely to be considered as Christians. I'm working on a new computer, so I have to reconfigure how I get to things. I see it now. Okay, so I'm muting everyone out. And I'm going to ask my cousin, Brock Johnson, to bring himself in.
How are you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good tonight. Good tonight. Glad to be here.
All right. Pleasure seeing you. And I was about to explain to our audience, who are primarily Muslims, that the two guests that we have coming on today are not Muslims proper, you know, in the sense of people who are keeping the peace. Yeah, then all of us are Muslims. But in terms of a commitment to a particular religion or way of life and that kind of thing, that you and the person who'll be coming after you are not in that mode. But I consider you, as you know, to be like in spirit. All of us are of the like spirit. We want to keep the peace and we want to make progress. I think that's the most important thing for us in this day and time. When things begin to go sideways, as I put in my email, it's not going to matter to you what religion you swore to or you are upholding. When you need to eat, it ain't going to matter that I'm Jewish or you're Catholic or she's Jehovah's Witness. It ain't going to matter. When you need a friend and that hand goes out to get that friend, then all of us become the same thing, that is human. And we need to learn to treat each other more and more like humans, because if you're all of those other things and you're still not human, you still have a problem. So I wanted to just say that when you hear the words Assalamu alaikum, it's simply the Arabic Qur'anic greeting for peace be upon you. It's that simple. And I'm sure you already know that. It's the greeting for peace be upon you. So we're greeting each other with peace. We don't have to do it in Arabic. Some have not. Some choose to say Lord instead of God or Jehovah or Allah or whatever. And all of that is fine with us. We're not here to proselytize and try to make people what we are. We're here to invite people to the good and to invite people to better opportunities to improve upon their human lives. And with that said, again, when you hear phrases like Alhamdulillah, it's simply the person saying praise be to God, you know, which is also in the Bible. It's also in the Torah. These are phrases that we're familiar with. So giving a chance for a couple of more people to come in, but I think that we're going to get started, and as they come in, they come in. Plus, this will be available as a replay for people who missed it. So let's go with that. I'm not going to say a whole lot about the gentleman in front of you. He's actually been before us a few years ago. Not sure how many of you in the present audience was with us when he spoke to us, but he's my cousin by way of my first cousin. His name is Brock Johnson, and he's representing an organization which most of you probably have heard of called Legal Shield. There's been a lot said about this company in the past couple of decades, actually. He'll give you some background history of what the company is, how the company started, and what the company is presently doing. Just keep in mind that with any organization that has been in business for more than a year, you're going to have issues. You're going to have people who tried it and it didn't work. You're going to have other people who tried it and it worked so well that they keep recommending it to other people. Well, I'm in the second category of people. I'm a member of Legal Shield, have been so for several years, and I can tell you that they have saved me literally hundreds and maybe thousands of dollars by making decisions to use them as opposed to whatever the alternative was. And sometimes there is no alternative because you just can't afford legal services and you can't afford some of these other services. So Brock is here to explain to you basically what his particular company is about and offer you a couple of opportunities. And of your own free will, you're free to examine the information. But what I want you to do tonight is also feel free to question him. If there's some trepidation, some hesitation, or something that you're just not understanding, or maybe you were in it and something tremendously wrong happened to you, it's no problem if you bring that up also, because we want to be as transparent as we can be, especially when we're offering opportunities for people to go into their pockets and do things that are going to cost them money month after month, year after year. We want you to be clear on what it is you're investing in or what opportunities you are buying into. So with that said, my cousin, my friend, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, cuz appreciate it. Appreciate Brother Bilal, I'll call you here. Thank you everybody for having me here this evening. And I want to share a screen with you if I'm able to do so. Let's see. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
You can. Yes. You can. Okay, great. Well, as I said, my name is Brock Johnson, and I'm with a company called Legal Shield. PPLSI is our mother maiden name on it, but Legal Shield is a product that we're offering. And I've been with this company now for about 11 years. And again, this is a company that I was able to find some time with, because when I first started, I was looking for something that was going to give me a little bit of a control over my future financial security situation, like a retirement plan that I had a little bit of control over, where I can generate income residually and linearly, as well as leverage that I could put in there and continue to grow for me. And that's what I found in this company. And I'm hoping that when I show this information to you, that you'll see the opportunity there to do the same thing. But then in addition to that, see what I saw too, the fact that I was able to provide service that was going to be able to help people in something that was useful and in most cases affordable. So without any further hesitation, that I wanted to jump right into this, and I'll just talk about the way things are now. I mean, we now basically just went through a pandemic, and obviously we all realize that the world's changed. It's changed the way things are being done, the way people are looking at things. This is pretty much like a work from anywhere kind of revolution that we're going through. People are trying to find ways to work at home, work from on the go, whatever it can be. Sometimes they're for their sanity's sake, because they're afraid of the disease possibility. Just others just for having a backup plan in case something that happens again, and they'll be in a position to be able to still provide for themselves. And whatever it may be, the reason for doing it, it has changed. And so that's what being the case, what we want to do is be able to find some kind of vehicle that's going to be able to enable us to be able to prepare for this kind of situation. Even if we're going to call it just a plan B, just to have the ability to be able to have this in place is going to be so important. But when you look at something that's going to get put in place, you want to make sure there's going to be something that's going to make sense. There's going to be something that's going to be able to provide you with the right type of income. There's three types of income, or even more, but three that we'll talk about this evening. Linear income, which is you're trading your time for your free money. There's nothing wrong with that. That's great. That's mostly called a job that most of us have, and I'm not knocking that. But the fact of the matter is that usually with that trading income for money, there's a limit, and that limit is usually set by someone other than yourself in regards to what your value is and how much you can make. There's other type of income that we're looking at as leveraged income. That's something you want to have, because now the leverage income is not something just necessarily dependent upon only you and yourself, but also you and your team or people that you're working with. And so if something should happen to you, if you've done well enough with your team, working well enough with the team, then you'll still be able to have protection for your family, because income will still be flowing in. And then residual income, you do something one time, then years and years from now, you're still getting paid by it. I've had people who joined me 11 years ago when I first started the business, and they still have the membership. And so each time they make the monthly payment, I'm still earning income. That's the kind of thing that you're trying to establish, some kind of a solid income or vehicle that's going to be able to help you get where you want to go. Let's see. What I want to do tonight, though, is talk about this company. And I want to evaluate 5 areas. Anytime you're going to do something that's going to make it good, you got to evaluate different areas to make sure it's right. The company, right? If there's a need in the marketplace, what the company does, and if the product that the company is offering is going to actually fill that need efficiently. And then also the compensation, if that can be something that's worth your time. And then the time in itself, because timing is everything. There's no point having a product that's not going to be worth in its time, So to let you know about the company, we got established back in 1972. All right. We've been empowering now about 4.5 million lives throughout the United States and Canada. And basically the vision or the mission for the company itself is to provide equal access to liberty, equality, opportunity, and justice that every human deserves. Now, at this right day and time, we know that's not the case. We know that everybody right now, the type of justice you're going to get is how much you can pay for. The color of justice is green. Simple as that. And that's why something needs to be done about it. And that's why we started this company, because of need, because there was a need for something to be in place to help people with certain services that cost a lot of money. So oftentimes pricing us out of the game. I say a lot of good things about the company, and I'm supposed to say a lot of good things about it, but you don't have to listen to me. There are other companies out there like Forbes, CNBC, Yahoo Finance, Bloomberg, and the Better Business Bureau of Ada, Oklahoma, which is where our headquarters is in Ada, Oklahoma. Will all say the same thing, that the company is not one of those fly-by-night operations, not one of those things that people talk about, because, you know, one of those things is not going to last 50 years. It's not going to have endorsements by attorney generals and governors and states, and not going to be licensed in several states. You know, so it's a operation that you feel credible about being connected with. The operation has functioned well, has done well, because we're functioning on one kind of different type of business model called disruptive innovation. All right, what I'm talking about is, you remember going to shopping at the mall. You used to get up in the morning, make sure you get the best prices and everything like that, right? And then beat people to the stores and make sure that, you know, you get whatever you want. Now you don't have to worry about that. You stay in bed, you just press a button, Amazon takes care of the rest. You know, deliver everything to you, food, clothing. Even next week they might be delivering babies, who knows, you know, but the bottom line is they deliver everything to you. They didn't make a brand new industry, right? But what they did was they made the industry that they were working in, services delivered in a simpler, easier, and more affordable way. All right, and so that being the case, it has made something a lot of sense and very valuable to people. Same thing with buying CDs or records. I mean, I don't know, some of you maybe my age, you know, remember going back and buying records. Sometimes I had to buy a whole album just to get one song, you know, just one song. But the bottom line is we did. But now with Spotify, man, it was amazing. You just ask for the song and it's there. You know, you pay a few dollars a month and you have any song you want. But again, that app changed, not a whole made a brand new industry, but just changed the way the services were delivered within the industry. And that's what we're trying to do now with the legal industry, by getting access to the justice system. You don't want to no longer playing with the public pretenders or things of that nature, but you want to play with, you know, people who are really the big players in the game, the ones who are going to give you the quality legal services. And that's what we're doing with Legal Shields. This app is going to allow us to do that. Is there a need for this? Some people may be saying right now, you might be wondering right in your mind, they're saying, hey, I'm all right. You know, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I don't need to have this. I'll pass. You may have checked out, but don't check out, check back in, because I want you to realize something, that there is more, that this service is not just necessarily for someone who has a problem with the law. You know, there are a lot of situations where you can use an attorney for your benefit. All right, a lot of situations, and it's necessarily make you a criminal. Look at all the questions that are up here on the screen here. Have you ever thought about revising your will, all right, or had a personally information been compromised, or been treated unfairly, maybe a victim of identity theft, or you've been hacked, or whatever the situation is? One of these situations here, one of those questions, if you said yes to one of those things, does it make you a criminal? It doesn't. So we can all agree to the fact that bad things happen to good people, and sometimes there are situations where it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you just need to have the proper advice and may make something good even better. All right, and that's what we can do with an attorney, and that's what we're trying to show everyone, the ability to use attorneys. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of times people don't use attorneys in these situations because it costs a lot of money. You know, you get a $300 or $400 problem, you're not going to spend a $400 or $500 attorney an hour just to solve that kind of problem. And so we said we're going to make it different. We're going to change it. Legal Shields, with the app that we have here, that we're going to provide you with services that's going to make it sense for you to use an attorney. Rather than paying by the hour, how about you pay by the month? How about you pay a $29.95 monthly fee? And then when you do that, you're going to have the access to the attorneys that you need to have. For instance, personal legal advice, an unlimited number of personal issues. No matter what the issue is, you know, traumatic or trivial, it doesn't matter. You can use the attorney, because the bottom line is, if you pick the phone up to call the attorney, no longer is the meter running. You're going to pick the phone up, you're talking to the attorney, and they're not going to be charged for it because you already paid for it, which is $29.95. What does that do for you? And that means that you don't have to ask cousin Pete or Uncle Jojo, you know, what their opinion is on legal matters. You know, you don't have to ask anymore. They're not lawyers. So, you know, we don't have to run with their opinions anymore. Now we can actually pick up the phone and know what our rights are, because frankly, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any rights. So why not get to know our rights in every situation we deal with, be able to know how to handle it the right way. Then we have contracts and documents that are being reviewed. Again, there's so many times, and I'm sure that we've done it too. Maybe you are very good and you understand a lot of the law, but maybe you just read a contract, and then after you read it and you signed everything, then you realize that maybe you shouldn't have, because there was a little term here or there you didn't really understand, but you went ahead with it anyway. No need to do that anymore. When you can just have an attorney, just send it over to him, have him review it for you. They speak the same language that it was written in, so why not use them to be able to provide the answers that you need and be able to solve issues. Letters and phone calls made for you to be able to resolve issues. That's a big deal too. I mean, if you have a problem with a company or something like that, you're gonna usually send in a letter of complaint, and it goes to the customer complaint department. Now, if an attorney sends a letter in your behalf with the law firm, the names and everything on the other side, it's gonna go to the legal department. Who do you think will get answered first? Obviously, the legal department, right? And that's what actually happens. I've had situations where I've dealt with this, used it so many different times, like my brother Bilal was mentioning too. It saved me a lot of money, and it's helped me in situations, even certain situations like this one. Wasn't a major deal, but it was my deal. I rented a car, and I had to use a debit card. I put a $500 deposit down on it, and they told me as soon as I bring the car back, they put them $500 back on my account. Sounds simple enough. Brought the car back, and they said, "Oh, well, the $500 will go back in." We're about a billing cycle, about 30 days. And I'm like, wait a minute, 30 days? No, you said you're gonna put it right back on. You zipped it off quick, now zip it right back on, and that wasn't their policy. So instead of me getting fretting or getting upset like I would have done in the past, and then ran out the place talking about I'm gonna call my lawyer, but then realizing that I didn't have a lawyer, I simply was able to call my lawyer. I was able to let them know the situation was. He got facts, information, send out a letter. 2 days after the letter, guess who had the money back inside their account? See, what my point is the power you have when you have an attorney on your side, it goes a whole lot further. I mean, than when you're just trying to do something for yourself in these situations. People don't take you as seriously as it would if you have the muscle of a legal law firm behind you. And then certain life events that you need to have attorneys to work with. A lot of times people don't do things like wills. Now, I'm not going to ask all your brothers, anyone in here who has their will done, who doesn't have their will done. But the facts say that if I have stood 10 of you up, 7 to 8 of you don't have it done. Okay, that's what the statistics show. All right, but hopefully that's not the case. But whatever the situation is, how about the reason being why most people don't get it done is because it could cost anywhere from $500 to a couple $1,000 to get it well done. But what if it's not costing you anything? What if it's part of that $29.95 that enables you to be able to have that will done for you, take care of the situation? Some people joke and say, I don't have anything, but you may have something, even just silverware, sentimental value. These are things like that families I've seen break up over silverware, things like that, or perhaps a living will. That's very important, because I've seen families go right down the middle. If grandma was sick, hey, grandma wants to be on the machine and fight for as long as she can. No, grandma wouldn't want to be on the machine that long, take her off the machine. Who's right in the situation? Nobody's right, but you're wrong. You're wrong because you didn't leave that love letter for your family. You didn't leave that information there for your family. Tell them what it is to be done, so nothing like this would happen. So what you do care for your family, you want to leave that love letter to them, let them know exactly what, where, and how, so no one has any kind of hard feelings or any breakup or anything like that as a result of what you should have explained to them in the first place. Traffic ticket assistance, civil trial defense. Traffic ticket assistance, that's a big one, because a lot of us have like heavy feet, or maybe we have children who are teenagers, or maybe we drive like teenagers. Whatever the situation is, the fact of the matter, sometimes we have moving violations. And when you have moving violations, as soon as you sign that ticket and say that you're okay, you're paying for it, now you may get points and things like that on your license. These points may cost you to have surcharges or insurance hikes, sometimes even suspensions. We don't want that. All right. So because of that, we have the ability to be able to fight that and have the attorneys go to court for you. All you simply have to do is get a ticket, no matter what state it is. You take a ticket, picture of that ticket, send through the app that you're going to have downloaded at your membership, right to the attorney. They'll take a look at it. They'll get back to you, let you know they'll be in court to fight it. And they make sure they do what they can to take those points off the license. I remember I had a situation like that where I was going to get 9 points on my license, from driving out into Canada somewhere. Now, I know right now you're probably thinking to yourself, what were you doing? He's going to get 9 points on your license. That is not the issue here today, brothers and sisters. Okay, what the issue here today is the fact that all I had to do was just call up and send the actual ticket through to the law firm. They took care of it for me. I ended up getting 1 point, which is what's better than 9. Trust me, it is. But anyway, the fact of the matter is powerful and it works for you, and they do what they have to do for you. Civil trial defense, if someone's trying to sue you, they'll be there to defend you in court, no additional cost. Same thing with a tax audit assistance. And if you're getting audited by the IRS, you want to go that alone. And if you have a tax audit attorney to come along with you to tell you what questions you should and shouldn't answer, it's powerful. I mean, one guy said he brought the tax audit lawyer with him, and he went in and an IRS person started asking him questions, and he was getting ready to talk. Before he talked, his attorney says, "My client won't answer that question next. My client's not going to answer that question next. My client's not going to answer that question next." And the bottom line is they're going to ask you questions. They didn't tell you that you have to answer them, but you don't know that. And you'll answer and you incriminate yourself. But the bottom line is, he says, if you have someone who knows the law and working along with you, with no additional cost, except for that $29.95, it's most valuable for you. 25% preferred member discount is something I really like too, because it means that everything that is out there is going to be covered by our service. It may not be fully covered, but it's going to be covered in some kind of way. You could have a criminal situation or something, a pre-existing circumstance. It's still going to be covered at 25% discount. And then as far as the 24/7 emergency protection, that in itself has protected so many young men from having issues with the police late at night, where you have the ability to have your cell phone there before you see yourself getting pulled over, to hit that cell phone button, get your attorney on the line. And when the officer comes there, your attorney, hello officer, has my client done anything wrong? Okay, to have that there and let them know this is being recorded, the conversation is being recorded, your badge number officer or whatever, and knowing what the situation is right then and there from the start could have prevented a lot of issues, that have taken place that you and I both have seen. But it's a powerful service to have. If you're being questioned or detained by the police officers, you can have your attorney there. You have the right to do what? 2 things: remain silent or talk to your attorney. And here's the option now. You get the option, to use the other option, to have your attorney talk for you. So it's a powerful service that has saved a lot of people. Other things too, like domestic name changes, uncontested divorces, things like that. These are things that are also part of the service that you have with no additional cost. After about 90 days of being part of the service, you'll have those access to you. Again, the 24 emergency protection thing is powerful. I think of so many different situations. And you want to make sure that you're using it in the right way, because it can really protect you and your family. All right. And who's covered by this? You member, spouse, domestic partner, you never married, dependent children under the age of 26 are living at home. Or if they're full-time students, they're covered as well too. Dependent children under the age of 18 and whom you're a legal guardian for. Some grandparents are raising their grandchildren, and any kind of mentally or physically disabled child, they're covered in this as well too. That's the legal service part of it. But we have more than one problem that we're dealing with today. Legal service and identity theft is another big issue. We have so many problems with identity theft all throughout the society. I mean, and it's not going to get any easier, any better, but people are finding ways of getting into our personal information, into everything, even things that we have to protect, the things that a lot of people don't think about. Forbes magazine lists us as #1 because of the fact that we cover a lot of different areas. We cover areas that are basic, that you should deal with, but then other stuff like your email, your medical ID, your passwords, going back into the dark web, making sure your name's not out there, social media, even your reputation on Instagram and places like that, social media. These are big deals now. People want to do business with you. They're checking you out on social media. You have to make sure your reputation is clear. And they'll have something up there, maybe a picture you didn't think was too harmless, but maybe it's a picture that would put you in a bad light. They'll give you alerts and let you know these are maybe things that you should take off of the service. But the big thing about this company is that they protect you in all kinds of ways. The comprehensive restoration is just phenomenal. Whatever the situation is, they have licensed and private investigators are going to work for you. They're not just people who are just reading scripts or anything like that. They're licensed private investigators who go back and change things. I have stories about dealing with situations like this. One real quick one. I had one young man who was going to be the employee of the month of his company for a major company, and he was going to be the employee of the month. Before they did that, they had to run a quick background check on him to see if everything was clear. When they ran a background check, they told him, "Hey, we're going to let you go today because we found out you were convicted of burglary, a couple of months ago. That you had a burglary charge up against you a couple of months ago." And he said, "No, it's not me." They showed a picture of him, showed a picture of his license, they showed a picture of the arrest, And he says, that's me, but it's not me. I didn't do it, you know. And they said, you know something, because you've been such a good employee, we'll give you till 5 o'clock to clear your record. And, you know, if you can't do it, then we'll let you go. 5 o'clock, okay? But what the person did was, first thing he did was call his father. And then I said, son, this is what you have to do. You have this service here that I already told you and you're using. You have to use it to your best advantage. Now talk to them. See what the private investigation find out for you. What did he do? Call them up. And what they did was they simply went to the police station that was the arresting station. They checked his fingerprints against that of the ones who was the person who was arrested that day using his identity, and found out that it wasn't him. They gave him a paper, took his name and everything off the record there as being the person arrested and stuff that day, and gave him a paper to save his job. But now, we look at a lot of different things with identity theft. We always think about just our credit and stuff, but it's so much more than that. A situation like this could have meant this young man's future, you know, but the fact that he had this backing was something that was just powerful. And that's just one of the many things that we do in order to help you out. Technology-wise, with the Trend Micro maximum security and the VPN proxy one now, we make it safe because you know it's a work from anywhere environment. So you want to be able to work anywhere. You're not worried about malware or being hacked. You have a VPN that pretty much makes you undetectable out there when you're working with these people. So it's a powerful service to have. So the cost of this service for individuals is $19.95, and if it's a family plan, meaning you and I believe it's 10 others of your family, you and 10 of your children, you'd be able to pay just $34.95 for a monthly basis to cover you, your spouse, and 10 children. You have more than 10 children, then either you got to rotate them in and out, or they got to get their own plans somewhere else around. All right. But now when you put the two together, legal plan and ID Shield plan, it allows you to also have something called credit counseling education. It allows you to have them have credit counselors give you an education in regards to how to keep your credit good and everything like that. And if you have disputes, have attorneys to be able to write the letters for you to dispute your issues and charges. All right. And as I mentioned, the coverage is you, your spouse, and up to 10 of your children. Because it costs, if you put the two things together, for an individual, it costs $49.90 a month, and for a family, $64.90. And if you wanted to cover your family business, because a lot of people during the pandemic created businesses, home-based businesses, it'd be $79.85 per month. Now, these are costs. They got expenses. It may not be a whole lot of money, but they're still money. And that being the case, that's why we have the program called Member Perks, because in my book, saving money is just as good as making money. So if we save you enough money on a regular basis that it frees up space for you to be able to cover your service, it's just like us paying for your service for you. So in a sense, what we've done is we've connected with vendors like this that help you on all everyday life stuff, all kind of issues: food, clothing, cars, whatever it is, travel, phone bills. These things are all things that members are saving hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month on. So indeed, if you're able to save hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month because of being part of a 5 million person buying power company, then take advantage of that and use that to give you service and coverage and protection like what I'm offering. Now, my question to you is, has any of the stuff that I just talked about today, the services, made sense to you? Okay, if it's made sense to you, then I can actually show you how you can make dollars for you. All right. And here it is. You look at these people here, the people on the screen here, they're all different kind of walks of life. And they've made lots of money in this business. Some are making maybe $50,000 on a part-time basis. Some are making over $2 million a year in this business, in this industry, doing this exactly what I'm talking about, offering these services to individuals. The compensation for doing this, as we talked about, is enrolling members. You can range anywhere from $70 to $448 based on where you are on a compensation chart. Anytime you market one of these 6 family plans, or $64.90 plans, the leverage income you'll get, because you're going to be able to not just get percentage of income from what you do, but from what your team does that you brought on as well too. And residually, as I mentioned before, there are people who I've marketed memberships with 11 years ago, and I'm still getting paid for, because you're going to get residual income that'll come in every month as they're being paid. And not to mention the training you'll get, and for rewards for acting fast, you get bonuses in this company that'll pay you for to do that as well too. Just giving you a little bit of example of what can be done. And I'm going to show you a little chart that's going to just break it down just a little bit more for you. Then I'll be out of you guys' way for this evening. First of all, the protecting 4 families. If you were able just to go out and protect 4 families with the 6490 plan, 4 memberships a month, that's like 1 a week. If depending on where you were in the compensation chart, you earn anywhere from $300 to $2,300 on a monthly basis just doing that. Is that something that can be done for 4 families each month? Talk to. It's not something that you got to do full time. You use a part-time basis, or when you're out or when you're in, wherever you can do it whenever you want to and generate income. But even bigger than that is if you decided you want to go further with this and build a team. So you had a team, you had 25 people on your team. Maybe you didn't recruit them all. Maybe you recruited 5 of them, and then each 5 recruited 5 or whatever. But the bottom line is, if you're 25 on your team and each one did exactly what I just said, 4 memberships a month, you can earn a residual, not a residual, a leverage income amount of $120,000 on an annual basis, just based upon the overrides that you would get from the memberships that were being done by those members on your team. I tell you, this is an opportunity to have unlimited income potential, and I really like it. In fact, usually when I talk about this, I always tell everybody, when you come and start discussing this, get rid of that W-2 mentality, that hat you had that says W-2 employee. Get rid of that. Throw that away, and then put on the hat that says business owner. Because now as a business owner, you could see the advantage of not spending just time for money, leverage income, residual income, how that makes a lot of sense. And here's the chart that I want to show you. When you first begin becoming with an associate with Legal Shield, you're going to start off and you're going to earn $70 every time you market on one of those 6490 plans. All right. And as you do more, you'll move up the chart. You can control what level you're going to add based upon how much activity you personally do. This is your personal income line itself. All right. As I mentioned, within certain days, 20 days or 45 days, you'll come up to certain levels, and I'll go into that some other time. You'll be able to earn bonuses for yourself along the way as well. But this category here is the team override category. And that's what I want you to really pay attention to. Because, yeah, in this category here, there's limitless income. You know, you would say, oh, no, you're only going to get $70 when you market a membership. That's $70. Well, it takes about 15, 20 minutes to talk about to market a membership, maybe. And if you get $70 every 20 minutes, that's great. I don't know if anybody there is doing that. If you are, that's beautiful. If not, you can think about it. We can think about something else too. In that 20 minutes, you can be talking to 40 people, intelligent people like I'm talking to you today. And perhaps 40 intelligent people decide they want the membership at the time. So there's no limit in regards to how much you're going to earn within a particular period of time. Whereas in the linear income segment, you're going to get a certain amount of wages per hour that your boss says you're worth. And that's it. No matter how hard you jump, how hard you work, it's going to be what they determine your worth. Here, you determine your worth. The team override section I was talking about, again, is powerful because if you work hard, move yourself up the ladder, and you get to the executive director level, and you now bring 5 or 6 other people onto your team. When they start marketing the memberships, they'll work their 20 minutes, market a membership, get $70, be very excited about it. But you will be ecstatic because you're going to get the difference between your position on the compensation chart and theirs cumulatively. Each category comes with a different amount, override amount. $300 would be your amount that you would earn every time that person marketed a membership at that same level. If you have 5 or 6 associates and they're all marketing memberships at that time, and they're all doing 20 or 30 or so, whatever the case may be. My point is there's no limit to the income that you can earn with this business, because you're not limited to how many associates you can have. So it's just a powerful opportunity to have, and again, doing something that's worthwhile, affordable, and something that people really do need. In addition to all that money they will make, they also send you on trips. And I've been on a few of these trips with the company where they pay for everything, food, travel, drinks, whatever it is you want there, they pay for it. I've been on this kind of trips, and it's very enjoyable. And in addition to that, they give you on a monthly basis additional $500 a month bonus if you're being consistent and doing something on a regular basis, producing a certain amount of members, 2 to 4 families a month. You know, and to get that additional $6,000 in a bonus in a year, that's a pretty good bonus coming to you. So what I say is that with this, why not own your own business on a part-time basis? You know, you don't have to change anything around. You fit this in around all the big rocks in your life, fit it in around the big rocks. You can work from anywhere. You don't have to be into a particular place. You don't have to get an office to do this, or wherever you want to work from, it's willable. So if you build a big business up and you pass, you now can give it to your family. They can continue to earn income. You get residual income for life with this. Training comes along with it. You're going to get people who you consider as being mentors, individuals who've had a lot of experience in the business who'll be able to help you out. And right now, the registration for this great opportunity is only $49. I mean, when I came in, it was $149. Now it's down to $49 for this month. And if you take advantage of it this month, you'll be able to get into business doing that. And if you look below it, it says even for the first month free, they'll give you something called the PBLSI Advantage. What that is all your website, your back office, your different references, your CRMs, the different resources that you'll be able to provide and send out to people. All those things will be provided for you for the first month. And after that, if you want to keep it, which is optional, it's $24.95 a month. But if that's your only business expense overhead, I would say you're coming out pretty good with the potential of earning that you've just seen here with this company. So I'm going to say to you this afternoon, thank you for allowing me to share this with you. There's a few things that you can do with this business. You know, you can go and get started with it, move along with it, and take advantage of all the different benefits. Or you can just take a look at it and take a look, and you can say you're one of two people. You can say one, you're somebody who saw the services, you like the services, but you're not ready to do the business, and that's okay. The business is not for everybody. I understand that, but do use the services to help protect you and your family. And then you may be somebody who says that I would like to get further into, but I have some questions, and that's great too. I'm here to answer questions for you. As Brother Bilal mentioned, I will be able to do that for you as much as I possibly can. If I don't have the answer myself, I definitely will get it back to them and have the answer for you. And third, you could have been that kind of person that says, Brock, you could have shut up like about 5 minutes into talking because it makes sense to me, and I'm in right from that point. So all I say to you is thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity with you this afternoon. And if you have any questions or anything like now, I'm open to talk, discuss this with you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, cuz. We appreciate that. And anyone who has a question or comment or a concern, this would be the time to do a face-to-face in terms of that with Brock Johnson.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sorry, before I answer the question, I just said I forgot to mention one other thing too, and this is important, is if you do like what you hear and you would like to get this going, I'm going to name the group the Bilal group. So it's going to be, you have to go to your website, or you can go to me and I can get things set up for you. But if you want to go to a website and actually enroll in the services, it would be bbilal.wearelegalshield.com. Okay, bbilal.wearelegalshield.com. Maybe you can put that in the chat for him, brother, cuz, and be able to let them know.
Habiba, can you put that in the chat for us, please?
No, I can't.
You can't. You're okay. You're not in that situation.
Yeah.
All right, it's not a problem. Bayina will get to it. Yeah.
All right. Any questions? I'm sorry, someone had a question, and
that was Habiba.
Yes. So, peace and good evening. Assalamu alaikum. I was wondering, when it comes down to legal services out of the state where you're residing, is there any kind of complications as far as which law firm takes care of that, or is this just a blanket thing that covers all 50 states? Is it continental 50 states, or is this including all, continental United States rather, or is this all 50 states, or how is that going?
That's a great question. And what this does, it covers, we have law firms that provide a law firms for each state, as well as in Canada, every place in Canada as well. So all United States and Canada, every state is covered with we have a provider law firm, plus we have several other referral law firms that are in the network as well too. So if you have a problem, say you're in Texas and you get a speeding ticket in New York, doesn't matter, because you just go to your Texas office and they'll transfer it to New York. New York will take care of it for you there. They'll have an attorney representing you there. When you enroll with Legal Shield, and you now have law firms in every state in the United States and Canada that will represent you.
Okay, are they including Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico is not one that's included there. Puerto Rico is not included. Okay, Puerto Rico is they're I mean, they have people that do it, but that's not one that's set up as saying yes, that it's going to be. I would never say guarantees that's going to happen. Although they have worked there, I just don't tell people that's the case, because there's many situations where they won't.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Just open up your phone. Feel free to ask.
Yes, I have a question. My
Yes, sir.
name is Stu. I'm glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes. Now, do your company addresses federal and state cases, or what are your limited, or what? Or just tell me this. What do you what cases that you don't do?
They don't do any like military law, and they don't get involved with tribal law, and they will work, and most attorneys will try to avoid this, but they try to avoid when you're suing the government. When you're suing the state, the government, or anything like that, they try to avoid things like that. But our attorneys will get involved with it, and I'm going to tell you, when they hear a case like that, they will try to do everything they can to try to discourage you from going that route. And that's what most attorneys will not want to get involved with something like that unless it's a slam dunk. You know what I mean? So that's the answer to that one.
Okay, so you pretty much cover the gamut, like in federal cases and most state cases. Now,
Yes.
what is so the rate's competitive, and what are the attorneys? How do y'all choose the attorneys? I mean, how do you choose the attorneys?
Martin Young Hubble rating is a system they have there. The attorneys have to be AV rated attorneys. AV is the highest rating that you have there. And if the attorney is not AV rated, they're not allowed. The only time we allow someone who's other than an AV rated attorney to get involved is if there are no more in that particular state that they're AV rated that or can be used in our referral network. If they can't find any other AV rated, then we will step down to a BV rate. But that's very rare that they'll do to a BV rated attorney.
Mhm. Then, if you're not satisfied with the recommended law firm, y'all go to the next one, right?
Yes, sir. This is what the thing with Legal Shield and trying to make the difference in the industry making is that no longer are the attorneys the top line or the food chain. You know what I mean? Is they have to work and satisfy our customers, because what's happening here is our members are paying every month, and these states that have law firm provider law firms, they're getting paid a percentage every month whether they have a customer or not. So they want to keep that thing going like that. There are some states getting about $1 million a month. You're coming from us. So the fact of the matter is that now, if they're not treating our customers right, the customer has another recourse. He can come to his agent, which would be me or whatever like that, and I would now try and put a review in there, and now the attorney has to answer to us. We're the higher authority, and they have to answer us. That's how we're changing the industry. No longer they just throw you out anything and say, eat it. They have to take what we say is right. And as far as getting another attorney, even if it's a matter of the person just not talking to you in a respectful manner, we can make a move and get you a different attorney as well as that too.
Now the pay, I'm going back to the pay scale. Now I know that they have guidelines on, they have a range attorneys should charge for their services. So how does, in joining your company, how is it discount? Like if a attorney, like the standard is $250 an hour. What is?
Let's say the ranges are now for attorneys, they're charging from $250 to $400, $500 an hour, depending upon who, what, where they are. So they got a wide range there. But what we do is we say, okay, the range of our attorneys are anywhere from $250 to $325. And only in situations, like I said, where you have a court case that say it was pre-existing, or criminal case or something like that, will you have to worry about the attorneys going to court and charging you fees. They're not going to charge you for services like we mentioned, but something like that going to court, they'll charge you that, but they're going to give you a discount of 25% at least. And I say at least because I've been in situations where I had one of my friends' sons got in trouble, and he was going to an outside attorney, was going to charge him $10,000 to cover something. The attorney within Legal Shield that I told him to come take a look at only charged him $2,500 for that, and was able to win the case and everything like that for him. I'm not saying that every case is going to get a major like 75% discount like that, but what they do guarantee is 25% and more in each situation. And so you're gonna pay less when you're at the point where you get an attorney. you're at the point where you're going to need an attorney one way or the other. You're going to have to pay for them. So the question is, okay, why not pay less for a same kind of top quality, attorney?
Yeah, because it's important that you have attorneys or law firms that's on board that has integrity. We find out a lot of that's going around because they may take a case and they know they can't win the case and they just take it to milk the case, to make money from it. And they know that it's a dead end case. So I hope the attorneys that y'all have that's a part of the group, you have vetted them well and know their history.
And here again, what we do is a situation like this. The fact that we have our attorney review process, whereas attorneys, the cases they have here, if you've ever been to Ada, Oklahoma out there, they have like a whole big room, control room, for all the calls that come into these attorneys. They're all linked back to there. They have monitored every call or anything like that. If in fact you have an attorney who's getting involved in doing practices like that, they're going to know because they review these things. They rate the attorneys every year and see who stays in the program and see who gets moved out. Because as you would realize, there are a lot of attorneys, a lot of law firms that would love to have prepaid money coming into their office on a regular basis. So they're in line, standing in line to get into this program. So the attorneys have to be on their toes. Now, or do they have any criminals out there, any crooks out there? Most definitely you're going to find some somewhere. But we do our best to weed them out and get rid of them so the service we provide to you is going to be top notch.
And one more thing,
Yes,
do y'all also work with paralegals just in case you want a reduced price? And paralegals can handle some of the, the paperwork, the motions.
Well,
I
could tell you, the stuff that you're going to do, certain things that you do with paralegals or like that modern stuff is like maybe writing a letter or stuff like that. If that was something that would happen, it's all part of our service for free anyway. You're part of the $29.95. So there's no need for us to stop the attorney from doing it when he's going to be able to do it as part of the agreement that he's already assigned to. So he'll handle that kind of thing for you. Now let me tell you something too. There is a way that they can help you and save you a lot of money. When I had when my wife was dealing with a situation with her mother and her father and like that when they had died and everything like that, and estate planning, she went to them and they, instead of charging her an hourly rate to do all the different things, they said there's certain things that we could just tell you what to do and save you money.
Absolutely.
Okay. And that's what they did. They talked her through it, saved a lot of money by talking her through it instead of just taking we're just going $250 an hour, $250 an hour. They didn't do that. And that's one thing that I do appreciate. And that's why I can stand behind a company like this, because of things like that. They're looking to help you, and that's what the benefit of having a company like this is.
Certainly. Thank you again.
Welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for the questions.
Salam alaikum, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for your information and welcome to Lunatics.
Thank you.
I agree with you about the different 3 different forms of income. I think it should be 5 because if one fails, you always have something to back you back up. But I just want to know what information would you like for me to put in a chat for you? I have Mr. Brock Johnson, who's the representative of Legal Shield. Is there anything else I need to put in there?
You can put my number if anyone wants to have a question, has a question. My number is 732-670-1040. If you have any questions, I'll gladly answer it. And I'll have the email address of brockjohnson903@gmail.com. All right. And if you're putting that information in there, you can also put in there the website that I said for your group, which is bbilal.wearelegalshield.com. bbilal.wearelegalshield.com.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Is that all?
Yeah, I got a question. How long has this ID Shield been in business?
Oh, ID Shield has been in business. We've been out for about 30 years now. Actually 27 years, just about 30 years, 27 years ID Shield is that we've been working with it. It's perfected to the point where now we had a lot of different ways in which we were running. We were running with Kroll before, but now we have it where we have our own powerful licensed private investigators doing it ourselves. Within the last 7 or 8 years, they've been doing it themselves, and because of the job they've done, and then all the connections we've made with the Trend Microsoft, the Trend Micro security, and the VPN proxy one, we've been able to boost ourselves to that level where Forbes magazine has voted us for 2 years in a row as the #1 identity theft protection program on the market. And so,
And what's your rating on the Better Business Bureau?
A+. You can look at Ada, Oklahoma is where we base us out of. So Ada, Oklahoma would be the Better Business Bureau that we check into for that.
Okay, and how long you been working for them?
11 years now. And I've been doing it, like I said, on a part-time basis for quite some time. You know, me personally, I was I'm a director of operations for a real estate company in New York. It took up a lot of my time. I mean, hours and hours, and the type of stuff that you take home with you. You know, so but in the meantime, spare time, I was able to build a business with this where I was able to generate, over $50,000 on a part-time basis annually with this business. So it was working well for me just to have a part-time gig bringing that much to me. And then I've increased it a bit more, since I've started doing a little bit more after the pandemic, because now I've stopped doing the work for the company that I was working for, and pretty much focusing on doing this and several other things for myself.
Okay, this just covers 50 states and Canada. That's pretty large. I mean, it's not like a pyramid thing or anything else that's going on, right?
No.
I mean, because you're getting people to work for you, to
again,
do
like
this.
I said, no,
That's how it
again,
keeps going, right?
No, it goes because of not being raunchy like that. Sex. As long as there are people having babies and people turning 18 years old, there are going to be people who are going to be available to buy this service and going to need legal services continuously. So if they're continuously growing and people are getting older and they're getting services for themselves, this business will go, because it doesn't go by bringing people in. You can sit here and you don't have to bring a single person in, and you can make $1 million a year in this business by just selling the memberships. You don't have to bring anybody in. It's a matter of marketing the membership. Money only passes when a service is being provided. And that's the difference between a pyramid. A pyramid, you just bring people in, the money is passing hands and things of that nature, and people are making money as a result of that. That doesn't happen here. Okay, this is simply when you market a membership, when your team markets memberships, you earn commissions, and that's how you get money. And that's the way it works with Legal Shield. And then, like I told you in the presentation, we've been around since 1972. Have attorney generals, governors. We're licensed in a lot of states that you have to. There's several states that you have to have a license to even market the membership to people. If it's one of those things or a pyramid, then it's one heck of a pyramid that's really been able to pull the eyes over on everybody for years. Then 50 years. They usually don't last that long.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions? That was a great one there. Any other questions? This is the time to ask. Unmute your phones. Join in.
Mr. Johnson, and this is Bayana again. I just want to make sure that I have your information correct. Your number is 732-67-1040.
670-1040.
Oh, 670. Okay. And I'm going to ask you, if I have coverage on my job for legal services, is the Legal Shield better than what I would probably have, like, say, at the post office?
All right. Well, I'm gonna tell you like this, and I'm not gonna sit there and bash one company over the other, but there's a Datsun is a car, and so is a Mercedes. Is one better than the other? Most definitely. You have to determine which is the Mercedes based on your circumstance.
Your experience.
And what we do, and to be honest with you, we've been voted, like I said, as the top legal service and identity theft plan companies around. Because of what we do, we handle a lot of things a lot more than a lot of other companies do. The way we handle a service, our network, #1 of attorneys, the AB rated attorneys, that's the biggest thing that really separates us from the rest, because no one has been able to master that kind of a network yet, because we had head start on everybody, and we got it going, and we got things going in the right way. So if you ask me, I'm not going to tell you anything other than, of course, we are hands down better, but you have to experience it yourself and see it, and you will. All you have to do is just use it. The beautiful thing about our service is not like other companies lock you in and say you have to do this for 5 years or 4 years. We like you to use it for a year, but if you don't feel like the service is benefiting you, you can come back and stop it. If the service is not doing what we said it would do, you can just simply say it didn't do what you said it would do and cancel. No questions asked. Of course, they'll ask you why, wish you would stay with us, but they're not going to force you to stay with us. There are about 5 million clients. And again, they're sticking with us because we've been able to provide them a service that says, hey, I want to stay. I like having an attorney in my pocket for X amount of dollars a month.
Okay. I just thank you so much. Now, I just want to make sure I got this information right. 732-67-670-1040. Mr. Brock Johnson, legal show rep.
732-670-1040.
Okay, and your email is brockjohnson903@gmail.com.
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. I just want to make sure I got it correct.
No, thank you for checking. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for all this information you've given us. I really greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
And don't go running out there signing up if you're not on Team Bilal.
That's right, guys. Make sure you do.
Yeah, I'll be discussing some things with you guys who are interested in this opportunity in terms of how we can do this in a systematic
and
diplomatic
something else
way.
too?
For sure. Go right ahead.
I didn't mention that what we also do, and this has become a major part of the business, is small businesses. If you have a small business, right now I just talked about the family plan, legal plan. We cover small businesses, and we do major things for small businesses. We've gone small businesses that had budgets where they were doing $3,000 or $4,000 a month for legal services. We linked them up with legal services where their budget dropped down to $200 a month, and we provide them with the same type of services they were getting for $3,000 retainers for people a month. We provide different plans for all ranges of small business, the home small business, and all the up to any type of size business that you have there. We provide collection letters, copyrights, access to the attorneys, business consulting, where you just get information from them. There's so many different things that we provide for businesses, and we've got over 150,000 businesses that we are actually protecting and covering now as well too. So that's another division of our company that if you're interested in doing that in the B2B arena, we definitely are going strong in that arena as well. And I'm going to use people who are, useful and want to get involved in that arena to make it happen. And I tell you what, the commissions, if you thought they were good at this level, commissions are much higher, much higher when you're dealing with the small business segment of a legal shield. So that's just another opportunity that's out there that we should work with. I only touched the ice, just a tip of the iceberg, but when you get involved, you'll see so many different areas, gun holders plans, CDL driver plans. There's so many different things that we cover that really separates us from the pack. Makes us better than the rest of the guys.
And Brock, for people who are interested in investing in land, for instance, if someone wants to go get, say, 3 acres or 5, or maybe even 10 acres of land to begin, their own family development or community type of development, how would that play into the services that you provide in terms of the legal aspects of that?
Well, again, as attorneys that we have available, is simply any kind of situation that you have that's not the type of laws that I told you don't handle. You can bring it to the attorneys, and they'll be able to work with you and give you the best advice in regards to which direction to go, what needs to be done in order to procure the land that you need, or do whatever has to be made. The attorneys will be on the call for you. Some things they'll be able to do as just part of the actual $29.95 services, but then you may get more extensive, which I'm sure you probably would in that situation. But then you're going to be able to take advantage of that 25% discount that's available to everybody who uses attorney for any other services outside of things like that.
Yeah. So I'm going to be speaking to our financial advisor. His name is William Safir. I believe he's on the line with us now. We're going to give it the once over. I've already given it the thrice over because I've used the service on more than one occasion, and I have been 1000% satisfied with the results. And I know had I gone another route, I would have either been broke for the next 3 straight years with the monies they were asking for, or I would have just been hung up in a legal situation that it's like the never-ending story. When you get into a legal situation and you don't have the money to do what you need to do, it can be looming, and it can actually send some people into depression because they have these bills and they have this retro and they have the whatever else it is that they're dealing with financially, and they don't know how to get to the light at the end of that tunnel. And I'm thankful to the Creator that He allowed me to come into this particular opportunity through you. And folks, I've only operated through Brock with this. I don't know what other people do, how they do, what they do. Do know that my cousin is handling serious business. And every time I have run into a situation where I needed his help and support, he was immediately there on the phone to help me guide my way through. So we're very, very thankful for that. So this is the time. If you have any other questions that you'd like to ask, this is the time. You have the representative right in front of you. You don't get this opportunity every day to speak to a person who is as knowledgeable as he is. I will also say this, that I'm not sure how many years I've been in the company, but I can say this. I know it's been at least 2 or 3 years, at least. And the opportunities that were being offered when I came in, what I heard today is at least 3 to 4 times more opportunities for the same money. So although they've been in business for a few decades, they are still growing and the opportunities are still being made available. And I'm going to be saying some things to you, not today, to this audience, probably during the week, if not, then by next week, this time, that are going to show you the very real need for these kinds of services based on where the world is going. It's not even going, it's actually already there. They're just not telling you about it. There are going to be some serious financial challenges in this world in a minute. If you think the other thing that happened 2 years ago was a big thing, if you understand what they have on the planning block, you would begin to get yourself in a situation where when things happen, you would have proactively prepared for it so that you won't be one of those reactionary people who are scrambling, trying to deal with stuff at the last minute that won't be available as opportunities. So when the ship is at shore and the doors are open, wide open, and you can get from the land to the boat or to the ship, it's the time to get on, not after the boat has set sail. And if you can't swim, you're in trouble. All right. Anyone else? This is the time.
Yes, sir. This is Habiba once more. Tell me if you have a loved one, say a grandchild or a grandchild, I'll leave it like that, who lives in another residence other than yourself. Is there an age limit as far as you being able to purchase the product for that child?
If the rule is if they live with you, and if you're the guardian of that child, and they're under 18 years of age, then you're able to have them covered under your plan. Okay. If they're not within your household, you're not the guardian of that child, then their parent or whatever like that would have to have a plan to cover that child.
Okay, now that we're saying guardianship, does it have to go through the legal situation as far as guardianship is concerned, or is it just a thing where you can say they're living in my home, I'm their guardian?
You know, if they're living in your home and you put them, just list them like that, and you're a guardian, they're not going to really bother you. Usually, you come into a situation if the child starts reaching the ages between 18 and 26, or 18 years of age, or whatever like that. And then if you're not the legal guardian, then there's nothing you're going to be able to do to cover them, you know. But if they're a child and they're living in your house, they're not going to give you a problem with that. They'll cover that child as part of the plan itself because they're living in your house and they're dependent of you, you know. But it's always good, and this is just not even for leadership, but for any situation, to get that guardianship, you know, legal guardianship. If a child's living on, you're providing protection or whatever it is for them, you want to make sure you have that, because that could backfire on you in so many other ways.
That's right. Yeah, that's why I was asking. It has to be the legal. And it would be wise to have the legal guardianship established. And I know
No doubt.
that the last time I asked about it, that was somewhere around $200. Now, there's another question. Okay, if I have the service already and I'm seeking legal guardianship, does the service reduce the amount of cost as far as obtaining that legal guardianship is concerned?
Yes, definitely will.
Okay, I'll bug you enough.
That's no bugging. Thank you, Habiba.
Yeah,
And
not at
I
all.
see Bashir. Bashir has his hand risen. Please come into the conversation.
You're muted, I believe.
Bashir, you have to unmute your phone.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
There you go. No problem.
I've seen this from other people in other groups, but never explained in this manner fully. And I missed the first part of this because I was late preparing to come on camera. But I would like to look further into this, because this looks like perhaps an opportunity that I could be in that expands my ability to do more things and be more creative. So I'll be looking forward more to this with Instructor Bilal and yourself, Brock. Thank you.
You're welcome anytime. Like I said, the numbers are there, and I'm sure my brother Bilal is going to be able to direct you to me when he needs to be. He's very knowledgeable himself, but whenever it's needed, I'm definitely there to go. He'll tell you, I'll be up 11, 12 o'clock at night. If it has to be, we're up the other night, get some things straightened out. So,
that's right.
So,
that's right.
Whatever is necessary, we'll get it done. Okay.
Yeah. Great. Anyone else? Here we go. All right. So I'm going to ask my cousin Brock to give us about maybe 2 to 3 minutes of wrap up and which way we should go from here. And I want to say to all of you, this is not Brock speaking, this is me speaking. You'd be better off expediting this opportunity. I know we don't like to make rush decisions, and we shouldn't. It's not an intelligent thing to do necessarily. However, as I mentioned, as I see the world, we used to have a soap opera when I was young called As the World Turns. As I view the world, I'm seeing some very necessary things that need to be put in place for each one of our households. And those things need to be done practically yesterday. So we need to have a few more of these calls. Those who are interested will probably have another smaller call with Brock, just to have him, while the iron is hot. They say strike while the iron is hot, while it's in your mind, in your consciousness, while it's one of your major concerns. Don't wait, hemming and hawing, because that's how most of us lose opportunities. So let us know immediately if this is your interest. And if you're capable of, or if you have other questions or whatever, then that's what his number is there for. But we're going to be meeting again in less than, I'd say 4 days from now, in a smaller webinar. It might be 2 days from, it might be tomorrow night after. I don't know. It's got to be soon, because again, there are opportunities that will get by us if we don't go ahead and at least take the first step in the right direction. And then we can take the rest of the steps as they come.
Okay. Well, as you said, definitely we want to, look at something now to make a move on something. And what you were mentioning there in regards to the iron being hot and striking now, yeah, that's definitely something as well too, for several reasons. One reason is because the pricing is just right. I'd say the timing is a lot about everything. You can wait, and perhaps you wait and it'll go back up to 249, 149, whatever like that. Then you'll say to yourself, wow, I should have jumped on it when I was going to make the move back then, or whatever like that. That's one good reason for making it happen. And then another thing that I wanted to tell you is that as you are here and you've heard this information and you've asked questions, you've got answers, don't go, and I ask you not to do this, don't go out and either do one of two things. Don't try to explain this service to somebody else, or how great of a service it is and this and that, blah, blah, because not disrespecting you, but you don't really know. Okay. And number two, what will happen, you'll get somebody who may have heard something about it and may say something, oh, well, I heard that it does this or that, or blah, blah, blah. Now, That's just like going out to somebody and saying, have you seen the movie Black Dog? And they say, oh no, I never seen it. So how was it? And then they tell you, oh, I think it's not this or that, or blah, blah, blah. But they didn't see the movie. You saw the movie. You understand what it is that's been offered, what we do, what we don't do. Don't take it from somebody who has no clue but what they heard someone's cousin tell their cousin's best friend that it does this or that. Don't do that. You know, come to the source, get your answers, and get things provided for you. And again, as far as we go to making things happen with this business, the opportunity is there. And I always tell people the same thing. I said, this is just like having a train in the station that's going to go to a particular destination. And the problem lots of times with us, as far as when things are trending and things like that, lots of times people will sit around and they'll look and try to see where it goes. And then once they see the trend taking off, then they say, okay, now I'm going to run and catch up to it. That's not the way to do it. Okay. If you see the train is in the station now asking you to get on and take a ride, get your seat, the best seat you possibly can find, you know, get yourself comfortable, dig in there and take the ride to where it's going to go. You know, it's going to take you to the place that it says, you know, whether I'm on it, whether you're on it, whether either one of us here, this opportunity, just based upon what it offers, you have to realize, you have to agree, whether you want to do it or not, agree that it makes a lot of sense with the things that are taking place in this world today, that this service can be definitely valuable. So the question is, why not? Why not take advantage of something like this? Maybe it's another meal you'd rather have. Maybe instead of spending that $49, you'd rather go out to dinner that one more day a month or something like that than doing that to protect your family or to be able to go further and have the opportunity to learn a lot of income. It's up to you. But the bottom line is, like we brought to the whole thing, is timing is everything. Now is the time. So you wasn't at that meeting when they had Netflix was saying, oh, we're going to take Blockbuster out of business. You weren't there. You weren't invited to that meeting. You were invited to when the meeting when Facebook says they're gonna go and make things big and they're gonna grow and Amazon said they're gonna take. You weren't invited to that meeting, but you were invited to this meeting, and you see the opportunity in front of you. I say take advantage of the opportunity while it's there. Don't be one of those that says, "Well, I wish I could have," or "I wish I should have." Just be the one that says, "I'm glad I did." Thank you for having me here today.
And neither were they invited to the meetings being held by the World Economic Forum.
This is true.
Most of us have no idea even what that group is, but they're running the economic future of the entire planet, and they're planning above and over our heads. And this is why I say there is an urgency to putting ourselves in a position to be as financially independent as possible. So this is not just for some, money to go to the movies once a month or take your spouse out twice a month. That's not what this is. That's not what you're being invited to. You're being invited to something that is going to help you regulate how your family is going to fare in the next few years, especially if you intend to continue living within the continental United States. So Brock, my brother and my cousin, I thank you for this presentation. It was outstanding. It will be sent out to the same learners as in a replay, actually, so they'll get a chance to see it again. I'll talk to you about your permission to actually put this on YouTube if possible, so that other people who enjoy what it is we do from the Nunetics group can also get a chance to get in on this opportunity with your permission, but you'll let me know that personally.
Yes.
All right.
All right. So, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. Thank you, sir. And have a good rest of the day and night, and give hugs and kisses to my cousin. And all of the children. All right. Peace to you, my brother. I appreciate you. All right.
All right. Bye now.
Okay. All right. Good dining there. So I'm going to ask, is Diane Walker with us and available? Diane Walker, are you present? I didn't see your name in the lineup. Okay, so we don't know. Circumstances may have caused her to not be able to show up, or maybe to be late, but we'll play that by ear. I'm going to use some of this session to fend questions and give answers to any questions that you might have concerning Nunetics and how this thing works and where this thing is going, and any questions you might have had that you have not had an opportunity to ask me personally. Many of you email me or maybe even text me and ask me certain questions about things that you don't want to tie up the whole group in that time with. So have no problem. I have no problem with you doing that this evening. So any problem that you have about the letter system, any issue, not problems, but any issues that you have, concerns or questions that you have about how Nunetics actually works and where we perceive Nunetics to actually be going, that can be brought to our attention right now. We're going to just go light and easy for about the next 30 minutes or so, inshallah, and answer some of your questions. And I know I'm springing this on you at the last minute. You probably haven't had time to think about or prepare any questions, but off the top of your head, if you do, just come in one at a time. And when you're finished with your question or your comment, you can even give us what my wife would call a praise report concerning how Nunetics has been actually working for you. That's what Diane Walker is prepared to do. How is Nunetics actually working for you? Do you notice any difference in your thinking, your mentation, how you react to things, how you perceive things, how you're looking at words? And now, is there any difference for you personally in how those things are coming about? We'd like to hear that and have you share that energy with us also. So feel free to open up your phone.
Okay, yes. Amen. Good evening. Go ahead.
Okay. Who do we have?
No,
Abdullah, yeah. Okay, yeah. All right. Let Abdullah come. He was first. Okay, and then you come in right after him.
Go right ahead. I'll come right behind him. It's okay.
All right. That's fine. Go ahead, Yahya.
Okay, this is off the top of my head.
I hope so. Anywhere else might be a problem. I'm gonna start with the top of the head.
But it has me, Nunetics has me thinking about the I'm just generalizing, calling it the technology of the language. And so I'm looking suspiciously at more things that probably may not deserve that suspicion, but I'm just looking at things differently. So when I listen to these words and listen to what people say, I'm looking beyond what they're saying. And that's a stretch for me because I'm not a person that could easily read between the lines. I'm a person who usually reads the lines and miss the message. So that's a challenge for me, but it has me thinking about things. So and another thing that Nunetics has me thinking about is what I've been thinking about in a more general term, in terms of remaking the world, creating a new civilization. It seems to me that some of us who say we step or strive to be in that position called guardianship of the earth, whatever that term is, we need to take it more seriously. And of course, what I mean is we start with ourselves, guardianship of ourselves, of our souls. Then it spreads to our family, and then to our community, and then to region and to the nation. And that's what I'm looking toward. And I'm looking at how movements for realigning or even generating new civilizations are doing. So I look at this with a hope that we learn how, and as we grow, we learn how to steer world civilization. That's what I see this doing, steering world civilizations. And when we talk about remaking the world, we're not just talking about just doing things differently. We're talking about remaking the world. And of course, it starts in the minds and the hearts. So I see the potential of Nunetics, turning things right side up, which for most folks will be upside down. And that's pretty much it.
That's a mouthful. That's deep. That's deep water you just stepped into.
I hadn't chance. I hadn't done no thinking.
Well, if you do some thinking and some writing, you're gonna be dangerous. Well, that was nice. Yeah, that was wonderful. Appreciate that. I felt that in my heart. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, Shafiqa.
Well, I find myself thinking of different words. And as I think of these different words, I'm comparing it to what I've learned. Like for instance, you were talking about seeing on one of the videos, and I started thinking of other words that have to do with that. You were saying seeing, meaning the turbulent water, and the end meaning the intellect. And I started thinking of other words. Sanity came to my mind. Sensible, sane, science. So I find myself, as I'm learning the various words, I find myself in a given day, words just pop in my mind. I said, "Oh yeah, well that reminds me of so and so. That reminds me of Alice. That reminds me of Bad." Like, one day I was thinking about the bad meaning home, and I came up with balcony. And I'm just thinking about these words, and it's just something. It really. It's planted, it's like a seed being planted in your mind,
Indeed.
So
I'm happy to hear that. I'm so happy to hear that, especially from a person who's relatively new, and how Nunetics has been impacting your thinking. That's a gift from Allah for all of us, for you in particular, but for all of us, generally speaking. We're happy to hear that. And we need to do more of these testimonies. In church, they would call it testifying, I guess. But I'm very happy to hear it. So keep it coming. Thank you.
Let me share for a minute.
Yeah. Waiting on you.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. What it's done for me, especially being relatively new, is it have allowed me to really appreciate the cosmic nature of the Qur'an. And having read in the past, with the English translation from Yusuf Ali, I know that the reference to the mother of the book, but it had no real substance, no real meaning to me, And what Nunetics has done has allowed me to stretch my imagination and appreciation, where I can see, why the Imam Muhammad used to stand out in his front yard just staring at the grass, and the trees and and the natural environment. I can appreciate that now, for real. And I can see how foundational that is in our being able to do our work, because I'm convinced that this 400-year experience that Allah has given us here in the shores of North America is for a very specific reason, and that we, in order to rise into that expression of our destiny, is going to require that level of cosmic thinking, where we can really learn from what's happening on and the micro cosm, down at the cellular and DNA level and below, all the way to the macro cosmic level of what's happening out in the ether and the black hole, whatever you want to call it, and all this in between. So being able to stretch our minds and our sensitivities universally like that, Nunetics has paved the way, and it's just opening things up for me, and now I can listen to somebody like Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Joe, and I can listen to them and I can appreciate what they're saying, and I can also see the value in how we can even help them understand what they have and give them more clarity.
Thank you.
Yes. So
that's where this is going.
Yes, that's where it's going. So I said, well, alhamdulillah. So the leadership that I think that Allah has placed in our laps, that if we rise to it, and this is the process. I see Nunetics as the vehicle, if you will, for us to rise to this opportunity that Allah has given us to, as Yahya mentioned a minute ago, to really get into remaking this world.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, soldier.
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead.
Brother William Shapiro, he just said what I wanted to say. So he didn't spoke for me.
Well, say it again in your own way.
No, I can't do no better than he done done, brother, ma'am. I mean,
How
that's
do you
it.
know that until you try and do it?
Okay. Then. Well, what it have done for me?
All right.
It have enabled me to see the same language
I'm
or the
good.
same message, the universal message
I'm good.
expressed through
Waleed,
different
mute your phone,
languages.
please. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It has enabled me to listen for the string or the spirit that runs through all human language, making it one intelligent language, even though it's spoken in different languages, but coming from the same place and being wired for the same human expression from those environmental influences that caused that wiring or whatever it was that excited the nervous system that left that message in the mind. It's the same message for all human beings.
Listen to this man. Listen to this man. Listen to this man who thought it had all been said before him.
Well, but that's how I see it. That's how I see it. That it's the same languages, the same message exposed in different language. And when the Qur'an is addressed to it, we get the same clear, expanded understanding, unfolding of wisdom. And it'll go like that continuously because there ain't gonna be no new revelation. I mean, it's the nature of the universe. And that's what New Natives got me see. I'm just so thankful. All right, soldier, thank you.
In case people didn't know,
Assalamu
Hassan Abdullah is one of the senior most members of our New Natives family. Hassan, do you mind telling us how old you are? I should say how young you are.
In by 12, on the 11th of February, I'll be 84 years old.
Praise be to Allah.
Alhamdulillah.
And I had a shoe shine box in 1946, right after World War II. Shining shoes, 15 cents a shine in the Caucasian gambling houses there, because up and down the highway, they had 4 or 5. The gangsters had all the gambling houses, the Beverly Country Club and Club Hoop the Wilders and all them different clubs. And we went in them in shine shoes. They rubbed the dice on your head and throw them against the wall. If they threw the left, you was all right. And if they threw the crap, then you got an insult or whatever. But we handled it well. Those were the environmental circumstances that shaped my formative years.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Instructor.
Wonderful. Yes, Waleed Sabir.
Yes. I have my camera off because the lighting is not that well.
That's fine.
But truly, I see Nunetics as our true blessing. First of all, it's our inheritance. And I've always been a student of nature. But I know that Nunetics has given me a tool and just renewed my insight or inspection, I would say, into nature in a whole, from a whole different vantage point. I'm able to see things that I simply couldn't see before. I believe that, as learners, we really have to share this message, share these tools with other people, particularly because it's really our gateway to true liberation. And so, I'm constantly, thanking Allah for blessing us with this inheritance. And so I just see that we have a lot to bring to the world through this gateway of Nunetics. So that's just a tip. I have so much to say about this, but I'll just, leave it at that for now.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. That was
Yes, sir.
excellent.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Yes,
Go right
brother.
ahead, sir.
Muhammad Ali Malik.
Yes, sir.
I would like to give a perspective as one who has been an English teacher for 20, 30 years. And Nunetics has brought a perspective, has made it possible for me to increase my understanding of language in general. And I'm always looking at this point. At this point, I can see how the evolution will take place in the individual if you stay at it and if you're sincere about it. Because I'm looking at the best way now to move with the consonantal connection from Arabic, the Qur'anic Arabic, to the language variation. And the blessing is, I'm going to ride on the wave of William and on Hassan. Was that Hassan? The older brother? Okay. That what I've come to understand more clearly, that the variation of languages is really not a variation within itself, because all the languages are connected. And once you understand that, it will allow you to be comfortable in your personal and daily life and in your academic life. Because I work with people today. I work with a lady that teaches French. I work with a lady that teaches Spanish. I'm around individuals that speak Arabic. And I'm saying that what happens is that once you understand that there's really one language, and that's the language that comes from creation. And with those languages, there's a variation, but the essence is from creation. So Nunetics has given me an opportunity to see and to expand my perspective. And another thing, Nunetics has made it possible for me to play by drums better, because now I'm beginning to understand that the sound of the drums represent frequency. And those frequencies touch various aspects of your inside. And I see this every day. So it's been a blessing for me, and praise be to Allah. Thank you very much.
You. Great presentation. Alaikum salam.
This is Habiba. The brother touched exactly on what I was thinking, just like it was stated earlier, that it's a universal language, just like music is. There's been times when certain ones have said to me, you know what, do you ever think you think too much? And my response is, do you ever think that we don't really think enough? Allah's given us the expansiveness of all that is. So why would we want to minimize ourselves by knowing as little as we already know? Why don't we continue expanding? So the expansiveness is going right back to where it is that Allah had initially formed us, right back to our fitra. And you can't get any greater than what Allah gives you. And in having that as our destination, it just seems wise to find as many things that are soul-filled, that are deep-rooted, and the only way you can have your roots is through the seeds. You can't have roots. There's just like no roots without the seeds. You have to plant something. And I am so tremendously thankful that we have Nunetics. The way that I find myself, and in Brother Instructor, you know this for a fact, I tear things apart as it is. And I'm always looking and see, with you, I have learned that there's so much more than what it is that I have already seen. I don't want to ever think that there's no more growth. And Nunetics has given me the opportunity to see that there's so much that we have as our natural selves, and it's such a beautiful thing. you know, and I pray Allah that number one, we all never stop growing. You know, there's some people who like limited things because they're scared of what's going to be coming next. I feel as though it's supposed to be a surprise party all the time. And I'm enjoying this, the uniqueness of it, because we've had so much stripped away from us. I'm enjoying the ability to look at everything that we use on a daily basis in a different light. I remember one time you said what the word science really means. And then I started flashing on the fact that in our community, somebody will say, you know, so-and-so's my brother, and you know they're the shit. Well, guess what? They're the science. You know, and it's just, and I apologize if anybody took that offensively. I'm not doing it that way. I'm not saying it in that fashion. But to look at that, something as minimal as that, to look at that in a different light and see the science in people that we see on a daily basis, seeing their abilities and what it is that they are working diligently towards mastering, and seeing what kind of scientific things that they're using and they don't even realize that they're using them, you know? And when having discussions with anybody, I'm constantly saying, well, you know, if you look at so-and-so, look at this word like this, and let's look at it etymologically. And then we share what the etymological definition, the description is. And I even get into the thing as far as the difference between a definition and a description. And
just give us a little bit of that for those who missed it.
When we say for those, we learned that the definition, the word definition is like the definitions. I'm not trying to be hard of hearing about anything. I'm trying to hear it all. And the description is actually taking something and fulfilling a picture. It's giving life to that picture and not making it so that it's something that you can set aside. It's giving intricacy. Whereas a definition is, like I said, definitions. I kind of, matter of fact, after you said that, I kind of turned the word off. And when I hear it, it doesn't ring on my ear like the description is. I kind of equate it to the way dealing with the legal system, the way if you're going into a police department and discussing with them something that has happened, when you're giving a description of something, you're trying to make it so that you're pinpointing more than you would if you just said, okay, well, I saw somebody with a tan shirt and a pair of tan pants. You're being descriptive as far as the way maybe the shirt is cut, the way if it's a short sleeve shirt, if it's a long sleeve shirt, et cetera, et cetera. So you're bringing more fulfillment into the character of what it is, the picture that you're trying to paint in the person's mind. And that means so much because we you know, even if you look out onto the streets, that's indicative of the way a lot of people are thinking. Basically, everybody's car is black, or it's gray, or it's white. You might see a brown car every now and then. You might see a blue car every now and then. But when we were coming up, we had more color. We had people who had green cars. We had people who had aquamarine color cars. We had people with the copper gold. We had different shades of red, et cetera, and things have become bland. It looks like just like the picture in my mind as far as sheeple is concerned. Everybody's just following suit. Nobody's trying to have any kind of variation. Nobody wants to be outstanding. And having a description makes it so that whatever word you're sharing, that you're making it so that that word is impacting, and it embeds itself in your mind, and it stands out so that this way, if you go to have the discussion that you just had with that person, and you have a discussion with someone else, you can offer a flavor that you wouldn't get just from, blah, 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 being monotone. These things are important as far as language is concerned. Language is really supposed to be a very beautiful thing. It's a means of communicating. And the more that we have, the more that we overstand and that we understand it, the better off it is. That, we're offering breath into something that has become dormant. That's what I look at Nunetics as being.
All right. I want to say something to that phenomenon in Greek language, but I see Baina. I don't think she has spoken yet. If she wants to say something before I go, then
I was going to say something. I was just waiting.
Go ahead. Go right ahead. And thank you, Habiba, for that.
Thank you.
Go right ahead. And after Baina speaks, I'm going to give just a breakdown of what language was intended to be as opposed to what language has become. And then we'll be through for the evening. So stay tuned.
I just had one more. I never did get into ask a question or make a statement. I actually asked a question.
Well, let Baina go, and then you come and let Baina go.
I just simply want to say, alhamdulillah, for everyone that's a part of this Nunetics community. First of all, I think that everyone in this community is very special, and Allah has chosen you specifically because you have probably more than one gift that He's allowed you to have. And I want to say that Imam Wadi Muhammad said that we're in a time now where science and religion are compatible, and Nunetics shows you that. And the Quran says that when truth comes, falsehood perishes. Well, there's an asteroid on the way, a comet. It only comes every 50,000 years. And the last time it came was during the Paleolithic age. And it brought about, and the human beings evolved to where we are right now. So we're getting ready to go through another evolution. And this comet, to me, is a sign from Allah that Nunetics is that comet that's coming to bring this change into the world on every level, all the sciences, every topic that you could possibly think of. We're restoring the fitra to what Allah wants it to be. And the etymology online dictionary, it expands your mind when you actually go in there and research the words, the letters, and where these things originated from. You come up with something totally different. Nunetics is doing all this for us, and Allah is teaching all of us. So I see it that way. And I realized that the whole world has been under a spell and still is under a spell, and that words can cast spells. As Imam Muhammad said, words make people. So I just off the top of my head, when I think about the word weekend, WEAKENED, and weekend, these people work us all week long so hard. So by the time we get to the weekend, we have been weakened. So, if you start looking at Nunetics kind of like that, I guess you'll see where I'm coming from. But it expands your mind. The same way when you read the Quran every day, the Quran expands your mind. It renews your mind. And when you deal with Nunetics, it takes you to another level. It renews you also that way. Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate you for
Assalamu
that.
alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Mikhail Abdesamad.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to
I should be a little bit more aggressive.
Pardon me?
No, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to say, listen to the other learners and instructors, and what I recognize about and piggybacking on Muhammad Ali and others, there is Nunetics has created a paradigm shift, and paradigm shifts occur and have occurred throughout history, in many ways. There was a Russian Revolution, was a paradigm shift. There have been paradigm shifts in science. Einstein brought a paradigm shift, and that paradigm shift created a group of people who were scientists who were studying atomic theory, but it brought together a group of people, and it brought that paradigm shift into reality. That term was rarely used. Even the term paradigm shift was rarely used in American lexicon up until Mr. Kuhn wrote the book on paradigm shift. The Renaissance was a paradigm shift. Imam W.D. Muhammad brought about a paradigm shift from the Nation of Islam to Al-Islam. Nunetics is bringing about this same type of paradigm shift, but it's going to be, from my perspective, global. And I just see it happening because language is going to do it. The science of linguistics or Nunetics is bringing about a paradigm shift. I hear it in the other learners when I'm listening. And of course, you know, even in your, in one of the study guides, there's a part where I can't remember if it's human nature or if it's study guide number 5, but you speak of perception. And Nunetics is a perception, but it's definitely a paradigm shift in our thinking. And you also speak, sometimes you talk about how Imam W.D. Muhammad spoke about the promised reading. I think from my perspective, we're at the threshold of that in the 5th dimension. So I just want to add my little 2 cents.
Oh, that's more than 2 cents there. That's gold.
Thank you.
All right, Abdullah, come on in.
Yeah, I think
This is great.
Yeah, that was good.
Outstanding.
All of them was pretty good, and he brought something very important. I thought was always thinking about science, how we got to look at it as miniature, or scientists to some degree. We have to start chopping this up. But just like when when you're a little child, you start asking questions about why, when, or what, and we have to approach the alphabets just like that. Another thing I want to ask is the Quran. How can we start to read the Arabic and try to decipher this along with the Nunetics, right along with the Nunetics? So now we can pretty much, instead of you always, just give it to us, mouth feeding us, spoon feeding us, that we can begin to decipher and understand this for ourselves. So we can say, you know what, not only did my instructor, my Imam, Bilal said this so, but I know it's so because I read it and interpreted it for myself. That's it.
Yeah, there's a simple answer to that. Join an Arabic course.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'm going to suggest certain courses to you that you can take, not courses, but actually teaching manuals from the best, I would call it the best Arabic perspective that I've been introduced to. So if you're interested in an actual online course, then I say go join Salim Mutman's course. If you're interested in self-study, where you can do it yourself and you're disciplined enough to follow through every day, a little bit every day, 15 minutes or an hour a day or whatever, then I'll suggest some other, you'll remind me this week to bring that information forward. I gave it earlier, but you weren't a member of the group when I did so. So if you'll remind me to do that, I'll tell you exactly where to go. I'll send you the link for it. So yeah, take the initiative and begin to learn Arabic 101 or basic Arabic or whatever, and begin to learn it on your own. And what I'm learning is simply going to augment what it is they're teaching you. What I'm teaching you and what they're teaching you are actually 2 different parts of the universe, but they do converge. But you have to be disciplined enough, and many people are just not. They're not disciplined enough, so they have to continue to be spoon-fed. But there are some of you, a good hand, maybe 2 handfuls of you now, who know how to go, like Adib Abdullah, he's probably number 1 on that list, who knows how to go into the Quran, start looking at those words and making the consonantal connections with words that are in the Quran in both English and Arabic. And Imam Zaid Muhammad is another one. He's at the top of the list. They're neck and neck, actually. He knows how to go into, can't tell you how many words Zaid has brought to me that I had not thought about in terms of their consonantal connections. And he's making them like stuff I might have even missed as a connection. Zaid is right on it. And some people are born with those kind of brains. So he's one of them. So in semester 20, I want you to begin to know each other better so that once we know what your interest is, then we know to suggest that you have a session with 2 or 3 other people who are on your level and who are of the same interest. That's how we're going to grow this year. We're going to grow because we're doing what all living forms do. They become a certain age and they begin to latch on to other things that are like themselves. You know, the baby is born by itself, but comes a time when the baby has to hold on to the bigger brother's hand crossing the street and, you know, or whatever, you know, the sister picks him up to carry him across, you know, the supermarket or whatever. So things are born independent, so to speak, but they eventually learn to latch on to those things that are like themselves. You have to do the same thing in learning Arabic. You have to find an Arabic course that is your speed, and that can pick you up and carry you over to the next level. And it's really that simple. When you do that, then Nunetics is going to be so valuable in your eyes, much more than it is right now. Right now, you're really aesthetically in love with Nunetics. I want you to be intellectually in love with Nunetics. Make sense?
Oh, completely. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to that because I know I've been shirking my responsibility. I've been lacking. I got your books. I know your books is high power. I wouldn't be, I would probably be riding high now if I was reading books, but I'm going to get to that. My
All
situation
right.
is different.
You'll make it. You'll make it there. Not a problem. All right. Thank you. All right. Was there anyone else who wanted to ask a question before I go into what I need to say? Bashir?
Yeah, I had 2 things. I was thinking, I think that I am in the embryonic stage with this. I think that I'm in a stage where there are walls being lifted up and the world is now for me to behold. And there's a learning aspect of speaking, talking, and walking, and understanding, and comprehending. And it's like, it's that all of this new touchy-feely stuff to get involved with. It's like, I see the shiny red stuff where I want to touch it and feel it and touch my face and see if it feels like that and put my foot in my mouth. Yeah. So that's what I mean by that. And the exploratory form, because there have been innovations put forth. There's been Tesla, there's been Einstein, there's been George Washington Carver, and all these different people who have had epiphanies on what nature means to us and what nature brings to us. And so that's one thing, but I just want to leave that right here. The question that I have is, I was looking at the Lane's Lexicon last night. I do have a PDF download on my hard drive in the room, but I was looking, should we buy, because people said they bought the book and for some reason the wording is not legible. And, you know, so where do we go to get a good copy of Lane's Lexicon? The PDF or buy the books?
I don't know. I've never used the physical hard copy book for Lane's Lexicon.
Okay.
But it could be that if you go to the website, right?
Okay.
There's somewhere on the website that will walk you through that. They have about 3 or 4 different versions of Lane's Lexicon.
Okay.
So I've never explored the other 3. I deal specifically with the one that I share with you guys.
Which one is that?
That's the one with the globe at the bottom of the page when you click it.
Okay.
It's going to have a globe of the earth on the bottom.
Okay.
And it's going to have a way to get into it where all of the letters are on top of the page.
Okay.
All of the letters, and you click any one of the letters that you're looking for in terms of the word that you're searching, and it'll take you to the page where all of the words in the Quran that begin with that letter are situated.
Wow.
What we might do in the next week or so, if you remind me, is take the time during the webinar for me to walk you through how to get to what I get to when I go to Lane's Lexicon.
Okay.
The other thing you can do is purchase the dictionary of the Holy Qur'an.
I have that one.
Okay, so that's the one that was recommended by Imam Muhammad. And what makes that one so superb is that it's actually a combination of the best dictionaries and lexicons of English and Arabic. And that's one, it's nice, it's leather bound, it feels good, the wording is legible and all of that. So I would also go with that, because you're not going to find basically in Lane's lexicon what's not in that book that's necessary for you to understand Quranic words. Now, Lane's lexicon has a whole history of the letter in their archived portions of information. So that's what's going to make the difference between Lane's lexicon and the dictionary of the Holy Quran. Now, if you don't study like that, which most of you do not, then I wouldn't waste time, trying to use Lane's lexicon just because it has a section of it that most people are not going to use anyway. But Lane's lexicon has, I think, more provisions for understanding the totality of Quranic words. They have different pages that you can go to and through in order to get the fuller picture of what that letter means.
Okay. The reason why I was there are times I have access to two Qurans with two translations, one with the Yusuf Ali and one with Sahih Muslim, because there were certain aspects about the Yusuf Ali version that I thought that I should compare it against. But this is even bigger, a bigger comparison. And
go to corpus.Qur'an.
I have that one too.
Okay,
Yes,
let
that one
the
also.
rest of the people hear about it.
Yes,
Corpus.Qur'an. Go online.
Yes.
CORPUS.QURAN.com. Corpus.Qur'an. And that's going to give you an even more extensive understanding of these ayat than you're going to find in some other places, because they're going to give you about 7 different translators on one page. So you'll have everything from Sahih International all the way down to obscure translators that you probably never heard of before. Okay. And it'll give you that same ayat in rows. So this might be Sahih International. This is going to be Yusuf Ali. This is going to be Muhammad Piqtal. This is going to be follow. And it'll go down on the same page. So you can even compare their translations and say, well, why did he translate that like this? But the other guy translated it like that. So it gives you a chance to ask some questions about the translations themselves. Okay, even in lieu of you not knowing Arabic or how to read
I even bought
Arabic.
the book on your mentioning it, the book, a biography of Yusuf Ali also.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
So anyway, that's it.
Okay. All right. I saw someone else trying to get in before I say what I'm going to say.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
It's Kareem Salam.
Yes, sir.
I have a comment first, just how much I have benefited from the Nunetics. I had spent years trying to study Arabic, and once I was introduced to Nunetics, it seemed like the light just came on, in terms of understanding the words from that C letter perspective. So it's been so helpful, still is helpful. My question is about one letter in particular, and I understand that some writers don't recognize it as a letter, and that's the Hamza.
Yeah.
I'm trying to really understand it better. I see it used in the word bukman, and from what I've learned so far, it seems as though it's like I know you say it represents a calcified pineal gland, but it also gives an indication like it's a switch that can be turned on or turned off. And I'm trying to get an understanding, how would that relate to a bukmanun, that may be too much to deal with in this short period of time, but that's what's been puzzling me for a little while. And I tried to get it on my own, and since you opened the door for this opportunity, I'm asking you as well.
Okay, very good question. So here's where we get into the nitty-gritty of what Arabic is and what Arabic is not necessarily as a language. You're going to find out that different scholars in the history of the language have done different things to influence the language in directions that the Qur'an does not necessarily support. So we are in the habit of saying mu'min and pronouncing it with that Hamza guttural. But people who have studied Arabic traditionally, as Arabic was given from back in the day, what they call ancient Arabic, you're not going to find them pronouncing it as mu'min. You're going to find them pronouncing it as mu'min, mu'min, no Hamza. And the obvious reason for that is that when you take it back to its root word, which is
Amana.
Yeah, you hear any Hamza in there? There's no Hamza.
No.
No, so it ain't there. So because it's not there, you have these two different ways of pronouncing it. Scholars just got, I guess, overly zealous in the history of the language, and they began to add things like the madda over the aleph in the word Amin and Adam, and this little madda over those words in the Qur'an. The Quran says, وَهَذَا بَلَدِ الْأَمِينَ. It doesn't say, وَهَذَا بَلَدِ الْأَمِينَ. There's no, like we do at the end of Al-Fatiha. There's no such creature in the Quran. So they began to add those things. And sometimes even in the Lane's lexicon and the dictionary of the Holy Quran, you're going to see when you look up a word that is going to have two different meanings. And they'll tell you, we don't know which one came first. We don't know if one is legitimate and one is not legitimate. We're only reporting, so they don't even know. The best way to determine the true meaning of a letter and therefore a word is to follow this Nunetics method. Nunetics is not 100% foolproof. We're still developing. We're still learning the process of learning. But I believe we're closer to the goalpost than many of those people who adopted more of the ancient Persian pronunciations and translations and spellings even for these words that we're considering to be Quranic words. Many of them are from ancient Persia, and it's ancient Persia sometimes that introduces that extra Hamza or these other things, these elongated, as in, alifs and all that kind of stuff. So, it's not a necessary thing right now for us to wrestle with. So I'm not paying that much attention to that. Down the line, when we give a bona fide Arabic class, and I can't do it until people like yourself and people like whoever else is interested in this language, as Abdullah articulated. When I get 5, 6, maybe 10 of you who are good, and you can go into the Quran for yourself like Zayn Muhammad can and others, that's when I'm going to introduce the really advanced level of learning Quranic Arabic. But you have to understand how it is fitra based first. If you can't make the connection with the fitra as soon as I say the letter and you don't know what to connect it to, you're not ready. Okay. Yeah. But as far as Hamza meaning to cut, that's the literal meaning in Arabic. Hamza means to cut. Right? Cut.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot to say about that, but I've said much more about it in the book called Nunetics. So those of you who have not yet purchased that book, feel free to do so.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Not a problem. You see, Arabic is said to have 28 letters. In my Nunetics book, I say it has 29 letters. And there are some scholars who agree with that because they don't include aleph. Pardon me, they don't include Hamza. They include Hamza as just being the top portion of aleph. And they say aleph is a chair upon which Hamza sits. So when you see the letter Hamza, you'll see the little ayn on top of the stem, on top of that spine stem, right? I connect that to the spine, of course, for Aleph, and then that portion of the throat where you can choke, right? So that's the chair for the spine, so to speak, all right? So when you understand that there are essentially 30 days to each month, give or take, depending on the month, normally in terms of the moon's waxing and waning, when it gets to the 28th day, and the 28th turns into the 29th day, and then the 29th is preparing to change into the 30th day, that moon completely disappears. In other words, it's been cut out of the solar system. You get it? It's been cut out. And it's only after that that it begins to reappear and build from there. So these Fitra-based concepts are Fitra-based because they're reflective of what's happening in nature itself. If you are the kind of astute person who's willing to take the time and make those connections with the natural environment, the natural world. Okay? All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So I'm going to say what I want to say about language, following behind what some of you have said concerning the importance of language. And while I'm trying to teach you these Fitra-based concepts, I'm also introducing you to what Imam Muhammad used to call Jacobite influenced language, meaning language that has been influenced by what he called the Jacobite interest. And Jacobite was a term that he used to describe what he called the wayward Jews. That there are Jews, and as we were discussing on our South African program this afternoon with Dr. Omar Zaid, there are Jews who pretend to be Jews. Now that's a big subject, and he handled that well. I was astounded at all of the findings that he had in that area, and may Allah continue to bless him and protect him in those areas of study. So there are people who claim to be, and it's actually the equivalent of Muslims who claim to be Muslims. You know, it was the ancient Persians. They claimed to be Muslims, but they wanted to take over Islam so that it could kowtow to their particular ideology, which was Zoroastrianism. And those same people were actually Jewish Gnostics. A lot of people don't know that about the ancient Persians. They were Jewish Gnostics. So this Jew who claims to be a Jew who are not Jews, in reality, if you understand what Jew means according to the scripture, when Allah speaks about the Banu Adam and Banu Israel, when he speaks about those people, he's not talking about ethnic Jews. That's a whole nother concept. But there are people who have actually hijacked religions from time to time, and Islam was hijacked. The Allah was cut off, cut Hamza, just cut it out, threw it out, and it just became Islam for anybody to add to, take from, etc. And that's what most Muslims in the world have as we speak today. That's what they're following. A version that has some things plucked out and some things transplanted in, and it has become a giant Frankenstein monster that somebody sat in a laboratory somewhere and began sewing together and said, you know, this is your religion now. Yes, master. That's what they wanted. A Muslim population that would say, yes, master, to all of the muftis and the sheikhs and the ulema and all the rest of these people. Most of whom just want to run your life and ruin your life in the process. And when you're no more good for their system, they just kick you out. They put you out. They've done this through the sophisticated manipulation of language. So the English word language is related to the English word languid, which means weakness, to become weak, to languish. That's what their design was for languages that were expressing scriptural content. They went to every scripture that was expressing language, and they instituted meanings into the scripture that would cause the words to become weakened. I'm going to show you how they did it. And this is the process throughout all of the languages, throughout all of these religions. They simply institute meanings for words that become fossilized or become languid, that become deadened, that become stealthified, that become all of these words that we use to symbolize something that has had the life sucked out of it. And once you have the life sucked out of the body, all you have is the body. They have done that with language. They have taken language and they said, now, this is how we understood this word 5,000 years ago, or in the case of the Qur'an, 1,500 years ago. This is how we understood the word in the time of Muhammad the Prophet. And I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that it becomes fossilized by that meaning, even though meanings for words are evolving all of the time throughout history. Allah did not create the Quran to be a fossilized item. If he did, why would he say that if all of the oceans were ink and all of the trees were pens and you were to times them by 7, you could not exhaust the words of Allah? Does that sound like a stultified language system to you? No. The reason why you can't put limitation on the meanings that the Quran is responsible for bringing into the world generationally, increased understanding, the same words, but increased understanding. And the reason why you can't stop it is because those words are directly connected to Allah's fitrah. And the more the human being's brain begins to grow based on his and her study of creation, then it's going to also bring along with it an appreciable interest and advancement in the understanding of whatever is fitrah based. In this case, we're talking about the words of the Quran. So the Quran is designed by Allah to gradually and consistently increase in its meanings. Not that it's going to have different meanings or contrary meanings to what it meant. No, it's going to have an advanced level of understanding when it comes to what that word means. Now, in the Quran, Allah speaks about the enemies of this process as being deaf, dumb, blind. And Allah says, and they will not return to the path. Allah tells you that. So there's no use in really even wasting time when trying to do da'wah with these particular people. Their hearts are already locked against this language because it works against their scheme. And their scheme is making billions of dollars for them as we speak. When Allah says deaf, dumb, blind, and it doesn't say deaf, dumb, and blind, like they translate it most of the time. There's no and in that Arabic statement. It simply says summun, S-U-M-M-U-N, summun. Bukmun, B-U-K-M-U-N, bukmun. You should be repeating these to yourself after I say them. Umyun, U-M-Y-U-N. Now let's explain each of these three. Summun, deaf. And I'm going to use that to substantiate my findings on the deaf Phoenicians. Now, that's not my finding. I heard it from another scholar, but I use it in a way that's different than the scholar that I heard it from, on the most part. And you might say, well, what does the Arabic word summun have to do with being deaf? I don't understand the connection, instructor. Well, that's when you need to get with people who are interested in studying the Arabic language and decide what words in Arabic have those consonantal connections. We say, when we make the traditional ritualistic prayer, Sami Allahu liman hamida. What does that mean? Allah has heard, right? Those who praise him. What's the word for heard? Sami. What's the word for deaf? Someone. So you see the sin and the M, the meme, operating in that word, because there's something about sin and meme that when you put them together, it has to do with the loss of hearing. Pardon me, with the ability to hear. Someone means that they have lost that ability to hear. Now, if you look at a consonantal connection for the Arabic word someone, and if you were thinking with your English brain, what word would you come up with? would be a close approximation of summun, but in English? Anyone can
Summer?
answer.
Summer?
Say it again. Yeah.
Summer?
You said summer?
Yes.
No. Give me one that matches all three of those consonants.
Oh, okay.
S-M-N.
Assume.
There you go. Summon. What does summon mean?
To call.
To call.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
That's right. All right. And the person who's being called is supposed to hear the call, correct?
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Now, if I'm working for the legal system and I receive a summons, I go to court and I have, what is that process called that they're going to put me through?
A hearing.
There you go. You see the connection?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So let me continue. Just follow the logic to its logical conclusion. So someone means deaf. Deaf.
Oh.
You all right?
No, because I
Abdullah?
know the devils, they be summoning spirits and that too.
Yeah, all of that stuff that you're not supposed to be
Yes.
listening to, right?
Yes.
All right. So let me continue straight through. So someone is deaf. Now, this group of people in history called the Phoenicians, they are responsible for the establishment of most major languages on this planet as we speak. They are seafaring people from few thousand years ago who made it their business to travel by sea and influence all of the major languages that they would come in contact with. They began with the Egyptian hieroglyphs from ancient Egypt. They were the first ones to start asking questions about what that means. All right. So they also became responsible for the establishment of the English letter system from studying the inscriptions and the language patterns and the meanings of the words on the Egyptian hieroglyphic walls. That's how we got the English language. If you don't understand that, get my book called The N-Word, The Corruption of Language, that eventually came to be our English language. But they got it not from the Hebrew language, as some would tell you, not from the Greeks purely, as they would tell you, but the Greeks also participated in pulling that information off of the walls of ancient Egypt. Every single letter in English came off the walls of ancient Egypt in Africa. So that's the other point. So the Phoenicians had several names. They were also called the Canaanites, or the Canaanites, as some of you would say. And they were also called the Phoenicians with a V, Venetians, Venetians. These were all the same people. History broke them up into different people. But essentially, if you trace their roots, you're going to find out that they are all the same people. All right. So they were known as the Canaanites from Canaan land. And it was the Greeks that once the Greeks peeped the card, as they say, of the Phoenicians and seeing what they were doing and how they were doing what they were doing with the manipulation of the languages that they were coming in contact with, it was the Greeks, the ancient Greeks, that said, we're going to call those people Phoenicians. See? Now, Phoenicians meant several things. The word Phoenician also is related to the word purple, the color purple. Remember that movie? The color purple. Remember Prince? That was his favorite color, right? Because purple is the color of royalty. So as the Phoenicians were going from land to land, teaching these people their language system, they were putting them into their spell casting system. And in doing so, those people became obligated to the Phoenicians, and the Phoenicians became very, very, I can call it filthy rich through this process. So purple and royalty came to be connected to the idea of wealth and power, which the Phoenicians were increasingly participating in as they would go from land to land. But they did not call themselves Phoenicians. They called themselves Canaanites. Now, next point. That covers the summun part of Allah's statement in the Quran. Summun. bukman, umyun. They will not return to the path. So we went to summun, deaf. So when we say deaf Phoenicians, what we're saying is that the Phoenicians established a language system that was intended to make you deaf to any meanings for that word other than the meanings that they gave you. When you come to them and say, well, wait a minute, couldn't this word also mean that? They say, no, 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 we don't want to hear that. I'm exaggerating a little, but what that means, no, we are deaf Phoenicians. We're deaf to anything you're trying to suggest. It's just like the modern day Muslim scholars. You go to them, what Imam Muhammad said that meant in the Qur'an. They said, no, no, la, Imam is wrong. It has to be what we understood that word to be 1,500 years ago. They are also deaf Phoenician. So it's not pointing to a particular literal people in history. It's pointing to a scheme that appears, rears its ugly head all throughout history. The latest incarnation of it happened to be amongst the Phoenicians. They are the most prominent in terms of that behavior. So when you come across people who say, we have the lock on what this means, and we don't even want to hear what you got to say. We're not even interested in what you have to say. That's someone. And that's deaf Phoenicians. See? They put it into the English language as deaf Phoenicians. People who didn't want to hear anything other than what they were establishing. Now, that's someone. Let's go to bukman. Bukman gives us the word also that people have heard as behemoth. And behemoth is a play on those animals that are big in size, but small in the brain department. See? Behemoth, like the Incredible Hulk, he's a behemoth. But he can't think straight. He starts swiping and slapping at his friends. So that's the behemoth. So what is it saying? Behemoth is a way of saying that the person is deaf in the intellect department. Their intellect can't hear. Their senses can feel, but their intellect can't hear, can't respond. So these are people who were called in history the Canaanites. And that word Canaan gave us the popular police term, canine. And as you know, canine is the dog family, the dog species, the canines. The police say K and the number 9, but the word itself is C-A-N-I-N-E, canine, and it comes from the Canaanites of ancient Canaan. Because again, those people were being typified in history as people who just had dog sense. They weren't the leaders of anything. They were just responding to whatever the masters would ask them to do. They didn't want to hear anything else. You go and try and tell a police dog what to do after he's been instructed by the person who trained him. Try to tell that dog, even the common dog, what to do in the face of a master of that dog in that house who trained that dog to bite you, bark at you when you've been. You try to tell the dog, stop barking. If they can't hear you. Big as those ears might be, they can't hear you. See? I'm trying to show you the connection in all three of these words with the interruption in vision. So that's the Canaanites, the bukman, the behemoth. The Rottweiler, those dogs, German Shepherds, The poodles, they don't use those dogs in the police department. They use the big dogs, the behemoth dogs. Then you have umyun, strange word. And they translate it as, let me have to let people hear. They translate umyun as blind. So it says deaf, dumb, blind. They will not return to the path. So we covered the deaf with the Phoenicians. We covered the dumb with the Behemoth, the bukman, the Canaanites, the dogs. And now we're going to cover umyun, which they say means blind. Listen to what I'm saying carefully. They say that it means blind. You have something in your house probably covering your windows called blinds, don't you? And it keeps out the light, doesn't it? All right. So it can keep out the light, or you can whirl them so that it lets in slithers of light. Not all of the light, slithers of the light. Okay? All right. So umyun also sounds suspiciously close to the word onion. And onion also has an effect on the vision, on the eyes. You can be cutting that onion, and all of a sudden those vapors of the onion get up into your eyes, and what happens? You begin to tear. Some people begin to cry when they're cutting onions, right? They keep blinking like the blinds, like blinking your blinds, right? And it affects the eyes, it affects your vision. You lose the capacity for clear vision. All right. And these people are called Venetians. You made the connection? Venetians. Same people. Canaanites, Venetians, Phoenicians. All three of them, the same people, or at least the same type of people who were doing the same thing on the level of language scheming. They were doing the same thing. Hold on. Someone doesn't have their, okay. All right. So you have to understand where this scheme is in terms of language manipulation when you read the Quran, because it's not talking about Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles when it says blind, or, whoever in history is known for having been deaf, or, some unfortunate person who's not able to use his aql or his intellect as being dumb. It's not talking about Allah didn't reveal the Quran as the last revelation to talk about blind people. In fact, the word umyun is not the typical word for physical blindness. Umyun is the typical word for spiritual blindness. Allah would never, ever malign people for their physical maladies and situations and shortcomings. Never would he do that. So we have to get away from thinking that it's talking about physical things. These are metaphysical statements in the Quran from Rabbil Alameen, the evolver of all systems of knowledge. Allah is evolving those systems of knowledge, but the fake, fictitious, phony Phoenician types who like to manipulate language, they are the ones who are making sure that the systems of knowledge never become evolved. Allah said, Rabbil Alameen. Rabb means evolver of all systems of knowledge. They come in and say, we refuse to let this language evolve. We have to keep it like it was when it was revealed to Moses, or when it was revealed to Muhammad, or when it was revealed to Abraham. And they are not the ones to say what it meant back then. They are guessing, and they are making stuff up, and they're borrowing from other cultures, like the ancient Persians in the case of Islam, to say, what did they say it means? It's what we're going to say it means. And we're going to fool all of these Muslims around the world into believing that the Persian meaning for this word is what it is. You don't even realize, and I'm going to tell you something that I want you to hold on to. Even the way that they have given us the word Allah in the Quran is not the Allah that Allah gives you in the Quran. Even the word, as I mentioned earlier, mean that they give you, the place at the end of Al-Fatiha, is nowhere to be found in the Quran. Keep in mind, dear learners, that the word Allah was already in existence way before Muhammad was born. It's already in existence. They say his father's name was Abdullah, servant of Allah. So how was Allah not here as a word? But it wasn't here in the way that Allah revealed it. Allah put a minor twist to it. they gave you Allah with what is called a dagger aleph over one of the vowels. Over the ah part of the vowel after the lam, Allah. So you have to carry that for at least 2 beats. Allah is called a dagger aleph. Sometimes they'll even put a madda over that, and it'll be Allah. But that's nowhere in the Quran. What's in the Quran is a simple fatha deserving of 1 beat's worth of vowel. Allah. Allah, that's what's in the Quran. But in your recitations and in your hadiths and in all of these other places and on the podium and all these other places where the scholars are giving us the language, they say, no, brother, you have to say, La ilaha illallah. Elongated. No, Allah didn't put any elongation on that word. They write the books, the book, Al-Kitab, they write the book with their own hands and they give it to you and they say, this is from Allah. So what they're giving you when they elongate the aleph in Allah, they're giving you the Persian version. How about that? The Persian version of pronunciation for the word Allah. That name was already here, but that Allah was simply the God over a pantheon of lesser gods, 360 to be specific, that were placed in and around the Kaaba. And Allah was put as the chief deity, the unseeable one amongst the 360 visible gods. See? That's the God that you are referring to when you say, Allahu Akbar. You hear that? You never say Allahu Akbar. You say Allahu Akbar, because you're referring to the pagan version of Allah, not the Qur'anic version of Allah. And if you're swift enough, you can do that. Study for yourself. Just go through the Qur'an and just find everywhere. Use corpus.quran or whatever, and find everywhere where the name Allah is used. Try to find an Allah that has an elongation over the aleph, over the fatha. You won't find it. But in all of these stories, in the hadiths, in the writings on YouTube and his tube and her tubes and all that they're trying to tie up your tubes with, that's where you're going to find that elongation, because they got it from ancient Persia. Most of your imams and muftis, they don't know what I'm telling you. So don't hit them in the head with this. They don't know it, but you find it. You put it in your little short writings or mini book or whatever, booklet or whatever, and you tell the world about it. They can't refute it because it's in the Quran. Just like I told you, there's 2 different versions of the name Abraham, so to speak. One is Ibrahim, the other one is Ibrahim. Both of those are in the Quran, but the writers of the Quran, the translators and so forth, and the people who print the copies of the Quran, they have not remained true to those 2 different pronunciations. There's a pronunciation of his word prior to him being offered the covenant by Allah to become the imam of all systems of knowledge, as we would say, or the imam of all the nations, all the people. Prior to that, he was Ibrahim, no elongation on the Kesra. After that, he appears in the Quran as Ibrahim, an elongation on the Fatha and the Kesra. Ibrahim. And it doesn't mean what Ibrahim means. That's more of the sophisticated study that we'll be getting into as we journey down into this semester number 20. And these are important things. They sound like small things, but they are things that are going to absolutely rock the Muslim world when they hear them. The last thing I'll say about the manipulation of language, I have a series of blast from the past lectures that I'm putting up now. I just put up the second part of what is called the corona, the crown, and the Christ. And I did this in the first couple of weeks of the so-called C-word crisis that shut down the entire world. And they did it through the sophisticated manipulation of language, beginning with the word of virus and this strange new word called the COVID. which is actually an acronym for Certificate of Vaccination Identification. And the number 19 matches the letters I and A, which means AI, pardon me, which means artificial intelligence. So that word means Certificate of Vaccination Identification, A, the number 1, I, the number 9, because that's the underlying plan. Bring you into a condition which would allow you to sign your life away to the government and to the pharmaceutical industry so that they can make all of these trillions of dollars and at the same time diminish the numbers of people in the world population. So when I mentioned earlier, whether you knew about what was happening amongst the people in the International Monetary Fund and the meetings that they have been having, they had one major meeting on the same day that Will Smith supposedly slapped Chris Rock in the face, exactly the same time. So that was merely a distraction for something else that they were planning. You don't understand how interwoven and interlocked this network of the spider webs actually are. You don't understand how that works. That's what we're here to explain to you. So stop being fooled by people who Allah says schemes are weak. He said their schemes are daif. See, daif, doesn't that sound like deaf? Because that's what it means. Daif is the Arabic word. I translate it as deaf. Their schemes are those things that we should not be listening to. All you have to do to defeat Shaitan is stop listening to his Phoenician, Canaanite, Venetian schemes. They're in the language. They're not in the police department. They're in the language. They're not even in the government. Most of them don't know. They have no clue what's going on. And on the level that I'm teaching you right now, they would raise their eyebrows if they heard much of what I was saying to you right now in the last, 20 minutes or so. They would scratch their heads and say, we had no clue this was going on. So it's the manipulation of language. Lastly, where did Iblis say that he would be laying in the cut? Can anyone answer that for me?
Left, right, to and fro.
Okay, that's one description, but he told Allah that he was going to be situated somewhere.
In the straight way.
Yeah.
On the straight
Yeah,
path.
but what's that whole statement?
On the straight path.
What does he say? Yeah, he said, I will be lying in wait or lying and waiting for them on your straight path. He's talking to Allah. Siratikal mustaqim, on your street. He's talking to Allah, saying on the path that you laid out for these jumps, I'm going to be right there laying in the cut. In fact, the word is not laying and waiting. The word is sitting and waiting. The word is which is from qa'ada. And as you know, qa'ada is one of the sitting positions in the ritual salat. Then qa'ada is sitting, but so is jalsa. You sit twice in that ritual salat. You can't tell the difference. You have no clue that there is a difference. You do that, you make the sajda, you come up into jalsa and you sit there and you mumble the words that they gave you, and then you get up and you make another rak'ah, right? And in that one, at the end of it, if it's a 2 rak'ah salat, then after that you get back up, but you don't call this last sitting position jalsa, you call it qa'ada.